right, come on in, come on in. Shalom, peace, peace. Prayerfully, everybody doing all right. Ready. Right. There was a little bit of technical issues for some reason. But hopefully we'll get started in a second. Prayerfully all is well with everyone. My apologies. Hold on. I don't know what's going on. Oh, okay. I know what's going on. Never mind. Okay, I know what's going on. Alrighty. I got confused over something real small. Okay. Hmm. It's fine. Okay. Well. All right. We just go ahead and get on today. The birds are chirping. The weather is acceptable. Just trying to, I can tell it's trying to turn up a little bit and cook a little bit. We're thankful and grateful. Looks like we got everybody charged up. Thank you for the live session earlier this rising, Brother Dwayne. I was able to catch a little bit of that. Elder Tamara, thank you for teaching the early rising Bible study session. I was able to catch most of that. Had to get off a little early. Okay, I think we got everything and all the platforms up. Okay, let's go ahead and get ready to get into this. All right, I think that's the best we're gonna do. All praises, all right. Prayerfully everybody can see and hear me all right. We're gonna go ahead and get started. All praises, all righty. I think we got the angles. Yep, looks like we're doing well with the angles. We got everything together. All righty, let's go ahead and get it. All right, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it is in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect. Today's message, Amen. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi, ¿cómo está? Bonjour, c'est le Kofi, ça va? Ni hao, namaste, osaya nikituya, Ohio, I see you, Nuke, Guan, Kumsa, Samida, Loha, Cham, Ensemble, Privet, Guten Tag, Badigani, Aku Abba, Madaasa, Ekesen, Jean, Bibini Kofi, the Franco Katana Wewe, Boker To, Boker Tav, Rijshan Shalom, and I and it's serving Christmas in here. Today, Shalom, peace and blessing, peace and barak. I am Pastor Kofi, Pastor of Service to Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, by being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. Thank you, everybody, for being on. Those who are following the Israelite calendar, we have our Shabbat coming up. Just as a reminder, even before I talk about that, actually, excuse me. So we'll be back on this evening, 8 p.m. New York time. We shall be, and then we have a meeting tonight, Zoom meeting, especially really for all of SOC community meeting, but especially for those of you who are in the DMV to Baltimore area. Those of you in the Northeast region who would like to come from different places, feel free to come on and join us, or and be part of joining us physically. But we will talk a little bit about that this evening. But we will have an SOC community meeting for everybody, for everybody. So if you can be on this evening, 1 p.m. New York time, please feel free to do so. Also, too, as a reminder, this evening will be Shabbat, so we won't have a long meeting. It will be Shabbat officially on the Israelite calendar if you're following it. So thank you in advance to those who are following it. There's still, well, actually, I'm not sure if we even have any left. We may have a couple of these left persons been asking about it, but we do have the virtual ones. So if you'd like to give a donation for a virtual calendar, as you can see, gives a month, talks about, where we are in the Israelite calendar, where we are, where the new moons are. It gives us holy days, tells us if there's anything special that we SOC are doing that's already planned from last year. So different things that are there. So, feel free to go ahead, join us, be part of what we're doing, etc. And if you'd like to have more information. But yes, this evening there will be a Zoom meeting right after the live session. Also, too, do not forget, we're getting closer to the Feast of Tabernacles. So that means September 25th through October the 2nd, we'll be meeting up down in Georgia, in Cartersville, at Red Top Mountain State Park. So if you're able to join us, if you're able to be part of what y'all has planned for us, many persons been talking about it. We've been talking about it since last year. We've been talking about it for years, some of us, so now try and get yourself together. I believe we said we're trying to see about making sure that we get the halfway point of whatever your donation's going to be. We're asking for half of it by August the 30th. And then I have to come back, or August, something like that, August 30th, something around there. And then after that, probably I'd say 3 weeks after that, we're probably going to ask. So we're probably going to ask for, the rest of it to be paid in full. If you need to let us know about something or work something out, as always, just let us know in advance. We'll try to work everything out for you best we can, as we always do. All right. So we appreciate you. Thank you so much. And we honor your presence today. If you do get, I don't know if it's corny to some. I can see where some kind of think it's corny, or if you like it, but if you like the shirt, thank you. It's not something that actually I have information on at this present time, but I could try and send you the information so you can order one for the persons who make it. It's not something that we actually make here, but just something that I picked up from somebody. Alrighty, but we're gonna get ready to get into this word. We're continuing in this marriage series. We got about 12 days or so, right? Let me count these days down just to make sure. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Okay, amen. So we've got, so we're in the midst of our 12-day series. And I think this is day number 5, where we've been talking about marriage, how to be/become married. So we're going to jump right into that. Thank you, everybody, for listening in through those instructions and announcements. As we used to say back in the day, please govern yourself accordingly. If you can, please govern yourself accordingly. All praises. This is my first time having coffee forever. Feels great. All right. So all praises. We're thankful and grateful to have everybody on one more again. Thank you for being on all the different platforms. Hopefully you came here for a message, for a word, and something that will help you, what the Most High Yah has for you and your families on this rising. Aman, aman. So if you're able to rise your feet in reverence of Yahweh's word, wherever you're able to reverence the word, we ask that you do so at this moment in time. While you're doing that, let's say shalom to everybody once again. This time personally, that we'll get into our Bible pledge and we'll jump right in. How you doing, Brother Dwayne, Thurman Lee, Cultural Prospect, Lottie Dottie, and everybody. By the way, thank you in advance for any like, share, subscription to the notification tab, hypes, watching live, watching later on, giving, sending it to somebody, supporting what we do with your viewership. That means a lot to us. Those of you who give time, talent, effort, energy, gifts in front of the scenes, behind the scenes, no matter what your position is as far as the title, we are thankful and grateful for you. And even those of you, yes, who monetarily put us with donations that help us as far as tithes, offering, and donations. We thank you so much for those things. We cannot do what we do around the world without the help of such persons as yourself. All righty. How you doing, Kut Devina? How you doing, Minister Raj? How you doing, Sister Donna? How you doing, Daria Vesh? How you doing, Minister Tisabella Ray? How you doing, Work Yes? How you doing, Minister Morel? How you doing, Brother Rodney? How you doing, Sister Beth? How you doing, Lenia? How you doing, Don't Run From? I don't know if it's Don't Run From Me or whatever, but Don't Run From. That's out there. Brother Bradley, Big Dog, anybody who's coming on, if you're watching once again live later on, thank you again. If I miss you coming up, charge it to my head, not to my heart. It is not because I'm not appreciative of your presence. It is probably simply just because I did not have a chance to see you coming on. All right? I'm on. So thank you guys for being on. I appreciate you. All right, let's go ahead and get ready to get started. I'm pretty sure you guys can, but I'm just going to ask to make sure. Can everybody see and hear me? All right, yes, no, maybe so. I'm trying to get back. I've started doing some weird things with my voice to project, and I'm trying to do some things to get my voice back. So I'm gonna try my best to project, but get back to my original voice. So I might sound a little weird. Yes, you can. Everything clear over there. Alrighty. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Once again, you can put your Bible, your right hand, or your device in the air, and just repeat after me. How you doing, Yahweh? All right. This is my Bible. This is the sword, and this is what I trust. For Yahweh is Lord. No sword of God shall ever be heard. For this is my Bible, and this is Yah's word. Hasham Yahweh, Aman. Yahweh Sham, his name is authority, let it be done unto us. You may be seated. We'll go back to what you're doing in the presence of the Most High Yah. All right, today, so we've been doing this series now called How to Be/Become Married. We got a few more days inside of this series. And by the way, I forgot one announcement. Please check out Elder Alma and Sister Rose on noon at noon on Tuesdays and Thursdays on Bloom and Flourish 3. So not and the letter N. Bloom and Flourish number 3. They should be on at noon, and they'll be on TikTok. I will see about if it's possible to try and put it on YouTube as well, or at least record it. But right now, it will at least be guaranteed to be on TikTok. Okay, so we're talking about marriage. We're talking about how to be/become married. We've been talking about protocol. How you doing, Sister April? We've been talking about what is it that we're called to do, what is it we're allowed to do, how do we approach persons, should we approach persons, when should we approach persons, right? Looking at protocol, looking at what the word says, looking at culture, looking at being a fiance, how do we actually look at paperwork, what is sex is marriage and sex mean as far as an institution, right? How does it help our community? All these different things. Today we're going to dive into, as a topic, and the main topic of discussion for today. Today our main topic of discussion is namely this. Our main topic of discussion for today is namely this. How you doing, Sister Deborah? I'm sorry. Main topic of discussion is Israel as a wife. Israel is a wife. Israel is what? Israel as a wife. You said you just got attacked by Christians. All you want to do is share your word. All right, it was me, if that's your way of saying hello. That's an interesting way. And I guess if the assumption is that I'm a Christian, then I guess you came to the wrong place. But if you're able to, I'm sorry if we're not going to allow you to preach or anything that per se, but prayerfully you're preaching the word. If you're preaching the word and Christians stand against it, that would make sense. That's what you're told is going to happen in Matthew chapter 5, verses 10 through 12. And as long as you were doing what the prophets and the priests that came before us said to do, Christ said, rejoice and be exceeding glad when they do those things. Right? So, but today's not Q&A, nor do I know you enough to really pull you up to guess. But you're more than welcome to listen if you like to. Other than that, feel free to have a great day. I'm sorry that you feel like you were attacked. I don't know how you want to tell us. So once again, the assignment for today in our marital series is to talk about the title for today in this marital series is talking about Israel as a wife. Now I asked y'all, okay, I asked straight up, we asked the question, is what we're teaching feasible? And everybody said yes. And the assembly said, amen, right? And the church said amen. So I asked already, is what we're teaching, is what we're doing, is what we're trying to create feasible? And many of you already said, yes, amen, let it be done unto us. So if it is feasible, then I said the next thing is that the next thing I said, if I recall correctly, was, well, that means that you all have faith in what is being taught. And everybody said yes. And then I said, well, then guess what? You guys already know what I'm going to say next. If you have faith in it, then what are we supposed to do? We're going to peep them works. And everybody said, amen, right? That we had a Deuteronomy 27 moment. And now we're in Deuteronomy 28. Will we hearken or will we not hearken? Will we accept the Barak or will we accept Achivah due to our lack of obedience? Right? So we said that we would do this together. We said we're going to make it a point to work towards this. We said we're going to establish this at SOC. All right? So today we must establish or reestablish, as we've been trying to do every day of this journey. How you doing, Aubrey? We must establish who Israel is, because the wife is supposed to represent Israel. Now, many of you have been fed Ephesians 5, which, by the way, is not a bad thing to eat. However, many of you have been fed a version of it that's not original. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against what? Against principalities, the origins, against powers. So persons in powerful positions have changed the origins of it, right? Against what is it that we're saying? We've also wrestled against, what is it that I'm trying to say? We also wrestle against, the powers that lead, persons in powerful positions that lead from dark places, right? And then we've also have it to where we have persons who we have spiritual wickedness in high places as well, right? So these persons have re-taught and reinstituted and readdressed everything, including have re-taught, reinstituted, readdressed marriage. So we're bringing it back. We're going to run it back, right? As De La Soul and Nas have just recently put out a track, Run It Back. We're going to run it back. And we're going to make sure that marriage is there. And then we're going to tell people, we're going to go and tell about it. We're going to run tell that what marriage actually is, right? What being together actually is, what being community actually is. So in all the different things that are there, we want to ensure that we are in righteousness and right and lawful standing. How you doing, Miss G? Thanks for being part of the community. So we want to ensure that we are in righteous position. We want to ensure that we are in a righteous standard. We want to make sure that we comprehend the word. We don't want to go to the left or to the right. We do not want to make it, we do not desire to make it about ourselves. Right? We are going to be in the word on this. So let me go to this, because when I say you guys have been fed Ephesians 5 in an unnatural or unoriginal position, what I mean by that is you have persons who are trying to tell you that the church is who Christ is married to, when that word church did not even exist yet, when that scripture was written, when that letter, when that epistle was written to those in Ephesus, right? Ephesus is the assembly that had an issue with their love, right? You have to know that each letter, each epistle that Paul was crafting and writing, letter by letter, character by character, is being designed specifically to go to a specific group of people who are being grafted, or even some Israelites who have been scattered, who are now dealing with persons who are being grafted as well, and trying to ensure that that's Paul's main thing, is to make sure that persons come under the law. It's not under the law of sin, which is when we start putting our flesh on it to change the law, but it's under the law of the Spirit. Paul never had an issue with the law, within its origin. right? And Paul even tells persons, if you go to places like 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 23, where you all have been taught about communion. Communion's not biblical, but you've been taught to have communion, and persons change that. Paul never said that. Paul, if you actually look at 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 23, he actually says, this one thing I left with you as far as our culture, which is what? Which is Passover. So even when you go to your assembly, what you'll discover is you'll never find a scripture on communion. You know why? Because it's not in the Bible. It's something that persons did over time in Roman Catholicism, and now it's become something where people change it. But Passover is supposed to be done at least once a year, but really once a year, 14th day of the new year, or the next month on the 14th day as a makeup if you missed the first one, right? So these are just little things. Once again, whatever your canon, whatever your belief is, you should always know the origins of it, right? Like I say all the time, even if you're a Buddhist. I'm not a Buddhist per se, but if you're a Buddhist, you can't believe that there's other persons who have come back to be Buddha again, because the first Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, said that he's not coming back. So if he's not coming back, but everybody keeps saying that they're a Buddha, somebody lied, right? That's not the origin. Or if you say you're a Muslim, the Muslim says that the original Torah or the Bible, the scrolls, are supposed to be the standard. So if you believe something outside the Bible but claim to be a Muslim, then you can't be who you say you are by your own prophet, peace be upon him. I'm just saying your origin. You got to go back to the origin. If you say you're a scientist, but you cannot tangibly make sure that you give me everything from hypothesis through controls to making sure things are written out, notated, etc., all the way through conclusion, then guess what? Your scientific experiment is just as theoretical and it's just as faith-driven as what you say mine is, right? So I'm just about origin. If you say you believe something, if you say you're this, if you say you're that, whatever it is, you should make sure that if I go to the origin of what you say, then it shouldn't change. If it changes, then you've changed it. And if you change it and are trying to say that it's the origin, you're lying. I'm on somebody. How you doing, Empress? How you doing? How you doing, Sister Tabitha? All right, how you doing, Grace Mercy? Right? If you tell me that something is original, and I go back to the original, and what you say does not match the original, you are a liar. Or you're telling a lie, or somebody else's lie, unknowingly. But at some point, you have to admit there's some kind of deceit. There's some kind of mismanagement of what is supposed to be a origin, right? So, if we're talking about Ephesians 5 never said, Yehashua loved the church, because that word didn't exist yet. He loved the Kodesh. He loved Yehashua. Who is the assembly, and who are everybody being grafted in? Now here's further proof for you. Let's go to, when you get a chance, right? I'm not going to read it, at least not at this moment. When you get a chance, go to Jeremiah chapter 3. And you will discover that Israel and Yahweh, Israel and Yahweh, Israel and Yahweh, Israel and Yahweh, Israel and Yahuwah, depending on your dialect, what you will discover is that Israel and the Most High are described as wife and husband. Right? What you will discover is that the Most High speaks of Israel as his bride. Right? That's the only bride that the Most High is talked about having. And that's the only husband that Israel is supposed to have, although Israel does find themselves being adulterous, spiritually or otherwise. How you doing, Sister Cheryl? What you will discover, now this is something that persons will argue about, fuss about. How you doing, Anthony, by the way? So please forgive me for missing you. Thank y'all for the love. Right, what you will discover if you just do some quick research is that Israel is the only wife that your Bible talks about. So if we're going to talk about the relationship between husband and wife, we have to know who Israel is. Because you can't be a wife, therefore, and if your example is supposed to be the wife of the Most High, the assembly, and that assembly is supposed to be Israel, if you don't know how Israel operates, you're never going to know how a wife operates. There's another one. Thank you, Elder Tamara. I don't know why I don't ever get that one in my head to put with it, but yeah, amen. Isaiah 54, verse 5. Matter of fact, it's right behind Isaiah 54. Or it's right behind Isaiah 53:1. Who shall believe our report? It's right before, right? Isaiah 54. I'm trying to say something different. Isaiah 54. No weapon formed against me shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against me, or no weapon formed against us shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against us shall be condemned, for this is the inheritance or the heritage of Israel. So Isaiah 54 verse 5, for thy maker is thine husband. Thy maker of who? Of Israel, because the context is no weapon formed against Israel shall prosper, and no tongue that rises against Israel, or any tongue that rises against Israel shall be condemned, for that is our heritage. We inherit it, watch this, not just as the children of Israel, but we inherit it as the wife of Yahweh. The context there is talking about our connection to Yah means that he will protect us. So any weapon that's formed against us, our husband will fight against that person. Not they didn't, it doesn't even say they wielded it, they used it, they pulled the weapon out. It says that they formed it. Come on, somebody. We about to hit some stuff today. How you doing, Minister Roz? Are you ready today? Look, the glove's going to be off today. I'm not going to be Mr. Nice. I mean, I'm going to try to say things nicely, but the word is going to be, it's going to cut you deep, like the old folk used to say about the sword. It'll cut you deep. It's a two-edged sword. It'll cut you going in, it'll cut you going out. And while that's not exactly how the two-edged sword is designed, we know that if you stick a knife in somebody, it'll cut you going in, and if it gets pulled out, it'll cut you going out. The word is about to cut today, because many persons' theologists, including a lot of Hebrew Israelite theologists, is about to be challenged, because we got to go to the truth. We got to go to the origins. Am I? Are you with me? Are you ready? That's the seed. Are you with me? Oh, yeah. Right. How you doing, Sister Virginia? Y'all ready? Right, we have to get to this point where we get back to righteousness, where we get back to the origin. All right, you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? I'm serious. See, if we do not know who Israel is, then what is the example for what? If Paul says that the mystery of trying to figure out how marriage works is knowing the connection of our Messiah to his wife, Yehoshua, and we don't know anything about Yehoshua's wife, then we don't have a problem. Straight up. How you doing, Cutting? Thanks for being part of the community. Right? We don't have a problem. Real talk. If we don't catch that we must know the wife of Yah in order to know our wives. If you're a wife, you have to know how Israel operates in order to know yourself. How husbands, we're supposed to love our wives as your husband loves Israel, not how he loves the Christian. I know. It's gonna be tough today. Not how he loves somebody who's just a nice person or a good person. Not how he loves all black people, although I have love for black people. Not how he loves all white people, although I have love for white people. Not how he how he loves Israel. There can be similarities in the cultures, but Israel is the standard. So the standard for wife is Israel. So you can't talk now. Also, too, brothers. Even though there's going to be heavy centric on the wife today. Tomorrow we're going to bounce back to us. Really, we've been going back and forth anyways. We've been paying attention, right? However, you got to recognize Israel that if you don't know how Israel operates, you don't know how to be married to the Most High yourself. So how you going to have a wife be submitted to the mission you're supposed to be submitted to? Because that's what submission is. To submit is to agree. To be in submission is to be under the mission of somebody. So if you're in submission, you're submitted to the mission of Yah, and you submit to him by agreeing to his word. Right? You agree with him, so you agree to him, because he is your, right? When you agree to somebody, right? You can agree with somebody, right? And also you can agree to somebody. When you submit or agree to somebody, what you're saying is, I recognize your authority. When you read the Oxford Dictionary and decide that you're going to use Anglo-ish, English, Germanic etymology, what you're saying is, I submit to it, I agree to it, therefore I'm actually under it. That's what's going on, right? If you say that whatever the presidents have put on paper, you're going to follow as an American citizen, what you're saying is that you submit to, therefore you are agreeing to, and therefore you are agreeing under, therefore you understand under the standard of those persons that are there, right? This is how things work. How you doing, Sister Erica? How you doing, Ryan? Right? This is just how things operate, how things work. Come on, somebody. Right? I'm on. So, beloved, we got some stuff to talk about, because how are you going to submit to Israel or agree to Israel? How are you going to submit to the Most High, more importantly, and agree to the Most High, and you're not even aware how Israel submits or agrees to or agrees with or is under the mission of the Most High? And husbands, how are you going to ask for your wives to submit to the mission, the Israelite mission, if you yourself will not even identify as an Israelite? Because once again, these things that you're talking about, these are for Israelites. Submit yourselves one to another. That's an Israelite way of looking at things. That's not an American way. That's not a Christian way. Oh, I know you want to talk about it, right? Like we just said earlier, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Every tongue that rises against you shall be condemned. This is the inheritance of Israel. That's for Israel. That's not for everybody. That's for Israel. That's not for you. I don't care how lovely you sing your song. If you're not an Israelite, it doesn't apply to you. How you doing, Zeke? Zeke? Sorry, Zeke Tech, right? Or Zeke. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Please forgive me, right? Yeah, we make these assumptions based off of, once again, fallacies, untruths, things that do not hold up. The things about marriage that you're seeing, how Sarah called him Lord. Sarah's not walking around just bowing down every regular Lord, Lord, Lord. But when Abraham is in a position around others where he needs to ensure that he's right, that he's speaking on things or whatever and talking to those who are under him, she respects his position as what? As Lord. But it doesn't mean that when they sit down eating, she's like, how was your day, Lord? No. See, it's context. But if you don't know how Israel operated, you don't know how the culture operates, see, we come out of that culture. Israel is 2 generations removed from that. Israel is the grandchild of Abraham and Sarah, right? Israel was raised by Isaac, who loved his mama so much that when she passed away, he went through depression, right? Wouldn't go and do anything. Abraham had to say, go find him a wife. Real talk. Right? So he loved his mama so much, so you think that he stopped doing things like his mama did, and then you think Israel wasn't raised by his mama? You don't think that Jacob was raised by his mama? Jacob was a mama's boy. Remember, Esau was the one that his daddy liked. Esau didn't see how crazy, Isaac didn't see how off Esau was until basically Jacob was told to leave and go find a wife so he wouldn't end up like his brother. By the way, that shows how much amazing stuff happens with a wife. Because literally, they said Esau has married women who were out of pocket. And because of his choice of bride, his choice of marriage, he's wilding out. They said, let's send Jacob, let's send Israel somewhere else, back to people who will believe in our cultural thought process concerning marriage, so that he will not end up like his brother. And thank y'all for the love. You see that? That's what happened. That's how vital marriage is. That's how important in the Israelite walk, in the Israelite faith, marriage is. Others are not thinking about it like that. Not to that level. Right? When we hear about Adam and Isaac, who many of you call Adam and Eve, we literally start thinking about, wait a minute, Adam and Eve, right? Like Adam was over the garden. Adam had worked before Eve. Adam, through his work, saw the necessity of Eve. Adam, when Eve showed up, actually creates a whole new language, because in English, we're not language, but new words, right? We're coming to agreement with Yah, because it's not Yah that says, for this cause will a man leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. Matter of fact, that word man there is not even man, because the word man is Adam. Adam doesn't say, for this cause will anybody who's Adam leave his mother and father. No. Adam says, for this cause, he actually uses the word, will a husband, will an ish, or what we would actually call in its origin, an ish, but a lot of you say ish. For this cause will a husband. He says, once help me, because that's her first name. You know what y'all call Eve, that's not even her name, that comes from Eve name, because some of you are into moon worship. You don't even realize, what you're doing there. That's somebody else's culture. Her name was actually Ayazad originally, or help me. That's the first thing she's named. Then she's given a title, which is wife. For this cause with a husband, Adam gives himself a new title, a husband, somebody who binds the house together, who binds the family together. For this cause with a husband, Adam said, now I'm a husband. I have a helpmeet. And all these animals, they had husbands, or they had males that binded their families together, that protected the family, that protected those things that are around. So I'm now going to, as the person who's the head over all animals and all human beings, I'm going to become somebody who binds my family together. And for that cause, every husband, anybody who's going to ever have the title of husband, who's of me, must leave their mother and father behind and cleave to their wife. If you're going to leave the world and come into this new kingdom, and Israel is the wife of the Most High, and you're going to have to leave what you were raised with behind. Come on, Holy Spirit. You're going to have to leave mama and daddy behind. You're going to have to leave them teachings. Oh, I'm hitting it today. We on point. Holy Spirit, have your way. She's on it, right? I'm dancing on some demons' heads today. You're gonna have to leave what you were taught with. You're gonna have to leave. Daddy said that. Well, you know, Dad used to say about women. Well, you know, Mama used to say. Well, you know, in the barbershop they used to say. Well, you know, at the hair salon, girl, they used to do that. You're gonna have to leave that foolishness behind. Give him praise. I know you don't want to, right? Give him praise right there. It don't feel right to hear that, but you've been taught a bunch of foolishness. That's why we have to always come back to telling you all and reminding you that you've been taught so much foolishness that you think dating is biblical. Salah. That means pause and think about it. Salah. Come on, did you hear me? How you doing, Interstate 75? Interstate 75, what you on? You talking about 75, so I mean, what we talking about, 75 going through Georgia, Alabama, all that stuff? We've been going up and down 75 for a minute this year. A lot of our travels. 75 is the second home for us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Look, you're going to have to leave your mother and father behind, cleave to your wife. You've been taught so much foolishness that you actually treat marriage like a date. That's why your marriage is a date. See, your marriage is supposed to have zero date. Your marriage is supposed to be death do you part. Your marriage is supposed to be where the person you marry, you're going to see again in heaven, in eternity. There's really technically no end to your marriage. Oh, yeah. Oh, come on, somebody. How you doing, babe? My wife is on the Honorable Honors. Always check her out on TikTok, YouTube, and her website at Bloom and Flourish. Not A and D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, biologist, biologist by degree. Also, do not forget that her and her mom are going to be on Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon on her channel. So if you see her on TikTok, first of all, shout her out and show her love, please, for my wife, who does great things. But also, too, if you can, well, no but, excuse me, show life, show love to my awesome wife. Also, too, feel free to go ahead and follow her here. So come tomorrow at noon and come Thursday at noon. You'll be able to just jump right in and be able to get a dynamic word from those two. I look forward to it. We will be on tomorrow, but we'll make sure that we give a little bit of time. So we'll have a shorter message tomorrow, but we got to honor our 12-day marriage stuff that we already had. But as I was saying yesterday, we're going to shorten the time tomorrow. So at the most, we're going like 9:30, 10 a.m. So you guys can have a little break, prepare, and be ready. Right, come put your napkins in place on your lap and your shirts, whatever. You can be ready to eat the word that Holy Spirit has ready for them to serve. I'm ready for. I know they're cooking up something special. All right. Also, too, if you haven't done so, just period, feel free to follow him on TikTok and follow her on YouTube as well. Okay. All right. So we are Ashkenazi Jewish. We are the Al worshiping the cover. Come on, I'm with you, and thank y'all for the love, and thank you for the love, dude. So hear what we're saying. You're going to have to leave your mother and father behind and cleave to your wife. You're going to have to learn how to leave all those things that person taught you, because you still, once again, you have dated mentality. You treat marriage like dating. So in dating, your process can be, I don't care if they don't do something right, I'm done dating them. That makes sense when you date them. In the kingdom, if you are married to that person, there is no way out. And by the way, somebody says, well, what if they cheat? Blah, blah. Okay, I get it. Yeah, and there's other ways besides. And there's even fornication and adultery are both ways out of marriage. If fornication is a mean what I think it is, because I don't think that means shacking up. That being said, right, fornication, by the way, if you don't know, it's a false image of marriage. The word fornication literally is the word porneia in the Greek, which is where you get that term pornography from. Right? So literally, any false image, any false vision, any false way we look at marriage is bigger than just only when we see two persons having sex. If you see somebody saying, I believe in marriage, but then they're not modest. If you believe that they say they believe in marriage, but they have multiple wives. If you say they believe in marriage, but they're trying to have side pieces. If they say they believe in marriage, but they got a work husband or a work wife. If they say they believe in marriage, but they don't follow the word of God. They say they believe in marriage, but they don't even identify as Israel. If they say they believe in marriage, right, but they do things against what the word says marriage is, then they are actually committing fornication. You thought fornication was just shacking up. Fornication is any false image of marriage. That's right. The Most High has only ever had one wife, and her name is Yehoshua. Her name is Israel. You see, so we will not ever learn as husbands how to love our wives if we do not learn how to love Israel. We will never have wives who know how to submit to the mission of their own husbands as unto Yahweh if they do not even know how the relationship between Israel and Yahweh works. Because you can have faith that marriage works, but if you never know how to work the marriage, then your faith is dead. You hear what I'm saying? You can have faith. Many persons have faith that what the Bible says about marriage can work. The problem is you've been taught that works do not matter. So you get into relationships and you treat them like dates, but dating work is different than marriage work. Dating work, you still got to toe in. Marriage work is 100%. Ain't no 50-50 in marriage. I know you're talking about 50-50 in finance. Ain't no 50-50 in marriage. It's 100-100. Are you all in or not? My household is set up to where look, I have nothing. If y'all forbid this ever happen. I'm just giving an example. If something were to happen that Elder Am and I were not together, I don't even have anything in my name, especially because I'm a priest. Right? Levi's not supposed to do anything, is not supposed to have anything connected to the field. He's not even supposed to have land in his name. I'm all in. I've been telling everybody about marriage for years and years and years. Basically, since my wife and I got together, that everybody in assemblies that I've been in have been seeing her on my arm. SOC is proudly supporting marriage and saying that we as a community, we as a nation, we as a people are not going to get anywhere until we reestablish marriage and establish stuff in the home. If my marriage fell apart, SOC falls apart. If my marriage falls apart, I fall apart. If my marriage falls apart, I don't know where I'm staying. I'm all in. That's what it's supposed to be. You've been taught to date, to be ready to go, be ready when stuff falls apart, have your stuff together. She blah blah. All the women, they for the streets and they gonna eventually become what they are. You don't ever give your heart to them. Hey, all men, they just betrayers. They all cheat. Leopard never changes their spots. This and that. No, if you married in the kingdom, you're all in. Problem is, y'all get married to a person in the kingdom. But if you're married to a kingdom man, if you're married to a kingdom woman, therefore married to a wife and a husband that's worthy of what Adam spoke there for this cause, for what Yah created, for this belief system, not for many, but for this cause, with a husband, not a man. That they put the wrong wording in there. It's actually originally with a husband leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. Husbands are trying to make sure that they still living in the old stuff and then trying to somehow be present in the new stuff. It's either all in or all. Come on, I'm about to say that they will the same things. I don't like it. I was literally going to say that. His blood in or blood out. Till death do us part. His blood in and blood out. If you don't know what that is, by the way, I've never been blood, by the way. I've been around bloods, but I've never blooded, right? I've never been blooded in. I'm not a blood, right? I'm not a crypt either. I've run with those cats, but I've never been one of them cats. That being said, right, if you're a blood, right, that means you get jumped in. If it's blood in, blood out, that means if you're going to join the game, you got to get beat up to get in. You got to sacrifice. You got to prove that you're willing to go through something. But if you're going to jump out, you don't just get to jump out. Matter of fact, we might even know this ain't for you. We might even know that we might even be okay with you getting out. But the same way you came in, oh, you missed it. See, that's why they'd be hurting on your way out. You be looking like Queen Latifah. Oh, set it off. You be looking like Denzel Washington on what was that when he played the gangster? I can't recall the name with Ethan Hawke or whatever the guy's name is, right? You be looking like that, but that's because, hey, if you get into this, hey, you're gonna have to sacrifice somebody. This is why even you guys believe, and by the way, rightfully so. For many, thank you. Many of y'all believe in this, and it's true, rightfully so. That you see a lot of persons, they get to be famous, and you start saying, man, well, why did so-and-so's mom just die suddenly? Or why did somebody's child die suddenly? Or why did da-da-da happen? Or why is it now all of a sudden they're not doing this? Or why are they not taking care of the community? Because they're getting jumped in, blood in. You don't get up to that level. I'm not saying that nobody has ever made it, but it's very rare. If you're getting into certain spaces, you got to get jumped in. See, be careful when persons say that they believe what you believe, but they're doing stuff for organizations that are against the Most High. You can't be in the truth and then say, I'm going to become the president of the United States of America. Because in order to become the president of the United States of America, it's blood in. And have you noticed that every president, right, on their way out, their approval rating is always down? I know everybody want to tell you, oh, we remember when this president did. Every single president on their way out, they get toe up. Why? Because you got to tear them up. Even for the person coming in, you tear them down so that you can go ahead and be like, whoever's coming up next, we can go ahead and make them look better or whatever. It's blood in, it's blood out. How you doing, 5 Crowns? See, this marriage thing is all the way in or it's all the way out. Ain't no respect for persons who ain't jumped into this. Ain't no respect for persons who ain't been through nothing. How you doing, Sister Jennifer? Ain't no respect for cats who aren't going to put everything into this. It's blood in, it's blood out. Matter of fact, the blood was shed for you. You couldn't even get this favor, this grace, this mercy to even comprehend the relationship between Israel and Christ. If Christ himself doesn't die for Israel and shed his blood to the point where there's no blood left, there's only water. It's blood in, it's blood out. That's a word right there, man. Thank you for that. Right. Thank you for the agreement on that. I was headed there, but when you said it, man, that thing really resonated. Right? You see what I'm saying? It's all the way in. I don't know. See, to know is to be intimate to the point of identifying. Many of you are aware of what I'm talking about, but you do not know it. And what you know, you're supposed to forsake. Don't forsake the gathering and the assembling of yourselves, but forsake what mama and daddy taught you, especially if it's wrong. For a lot of you, mama and daddy, I would say for you, it's very rare that any of you grew up with mama and daddy teaching us this. I'm not saying that mom and daddy weren't nice. I'm not saying mom and daddy didn't mean you well. I'm not saying that mom and daddy never wanted to do a single thing for you. I'm not saying mom and daddy didn't have their own issues. But hear what I'm saying. Mama and daddy didn't teach y'all this because they didn't teach you Israel. Some of them did. Like, there's like one person listening probably where mom and daddy were like all the way in. You were growing up with the holy days, with the feast, blah, blah. Many of us, most of us, had no clue to that level. We might have heard some stuff, usually even more so through like 5%ers. More so even through like NOI, right? You didn't hear it at Christian church, but you heard it through other belief systems where they would mention who you were, but you never knew who you were. Maybe somebody in your family would say, well, you know, we're Israel, but you ain't know what that was. Or they said Israel is the standard, but Israel is the wife. But Jeremiah 3 tells you straight up that Yah is the only wife that he ever knew was you. They didn't teach you to your ass. There you go. See, even a lot of people do that, by the way. And that's a cutting. That's a protection mechanism, if you will. That's not the word I'm looking for. However, that's a mechanism that they put in, because a lot of us basically are foreigners and strangers. I don't care how long you've been here. I don't care how long you're ADOS, how long you're FBA. You're considered to be strangers in your own land. You feel like foreigners in your own land if you live indigenous, or even if you've been here for a while building, you still don't feel like you're an American, right? A modern American. You don't know who you are, you don't know your language, all these things. So you're always, even though we're doing things that become black, we're never doing anything that actually is like making us be like, this is 100% who I am. There's always this thing that we're always trying to get into somebody else's thing, right? So what foreigners do, if you notice, even what a lot of immigrants do, right? That's the same word, immigrant, foreigner, alien. That's what these terms mean. And what a lot of persons who are alien to what we do in our system. See, because we're aliens, foreigners to the world, to their system. But they are foreigners, aliens to what we do. Remember in our Exodus series, Moses kept saying, hey, Pharaoh, we can't worship here because the way that we worship Yah is something that would cause you guys to try and take our lives, because what we do in righteousness, you guys feel is an abomination. Okay, I didn't see that in the house. Welcome, right? So he says, like, what you guys think is what we believe to be right, lawful standing, you all believe to be so foreign that you would try to take our lives. You believe it to be an abomination. We believe things you're doing are abominable, you believe the same thing about us. So we cannot be around each other and have true worship. Right? So we have to leave and separate that our husband and I and us might be able to have actual relationship for the first time. See, we've been enslaved, so we haven't been able to be with our husband. But now our husband's been able to break through in the spirit, through the way of Moses, through the way of Aaron. And so now here it is, we can have this spiritual relationship. You know, every marriage should start with a spiritual relationship. They should worry about becoming one even with their souls. So, right? Because you got to even cleanse your soul attachments. I'm not even sure all the places we go. We don't talk about Israel today. Holy Spirit, have you look those soul attachments? You know what those soul attachments are? These are in the Greek, right? Right in the Hebrew, nachivash. In the Greek, psyche, or what we call today psyche. You know that word psyche, P-S-Y-C-H-E. That actually means your soul. So when you have soul attachments that everybody talks about, right? When you have soul ties, everybody talks about. What you're talking about is you have psychological ties. If you're in a relationship with somebody for a little bit, you're going to pick up a lot of psychology. Even though you swear, oh, we argued all the time, we fussed, we did, I promise you, you carry some of that psychology if you're not careful. The ology or the logia of, by the way, in etymology is just talking about the logic of or the study of. So you just studied this person to try to be with them, and you then by studying them, you learn their logic, and at times, if you're living with the person, especially for long periods of time, you will actually begin to use their logic because you have to use their logic, bare minimum, to keep peace in your house. And how you doing, Jay? And Akila, please forgive me. Right? You hear what I'm saying, beloved? How you doing, Brother Jermaine? How you doing, Sister Beth? You hear what I'm saying, beloved? Come on. We're just going back to the origin. See, you don't know that even your soul, now it doesn't only mean this, but in the Greek, that's Greco-Roman mentality, which a lot of you are using in Christianity. So I'm just going to start there with you, right? A lot of you don't recognize that your soul, even in the Christian mindset, is actually talking about your psychology. Your psychology is what your spirit, right? In that same mindset, your spirit and your flesh are having conversations through your psyche. Everybody with me? Seriously, I'm not trying to say this to do whatever. But we need to slow down. We still got several days where we're going to be in this series. But I need to make sure that we're on the same page. Everybody with me? Anybody have any questions? Anybody have any doubts? And seriously, if it's okay to question it, I'd rather you question it now than be like, oh, I don't do this, blah, blah. It makes sense, okay? It makes sense. Because we got to recognize that now. We got to recognize that. I want you to see that. I want you to catch that. You're having some of the issues that you are having because you're still carrying psyche from something else. See, when you were dating somebody, you still come in and what do? You start dating. This is why a lot of persons will say things. You hear husbands and wives say this all the time. You hear boyfriends and girlfriends, men and women, husbands and wives say this all the time. They'll always say, man, I've been in relationships with all these other persons. I've had friends, I've had family, I've had, boyfriends, girlfriends, I've been married, whatever, and I've never had anybody, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's because the person you're with, you keep trying to compare them to other things you're tied to. It could be that person's a jerk, sure. It could be that person needs to be better, sure. It could be that person needs to be more in tune with what y'all have for them, sure. However, do not dismiss the fact that you are carrying psyche. You're carrying the soul. You're tied to a psyche. You're tied to a psychology. You're tied to a soul that's not righteous. Or it might even be righteous, but you're trying to be one with somebody else. How are you going to talk about being one with somebody else but keep looking at the psyche of former persons? And how you doing, Gianna? Gianna's D? Oh, Gianna's D's cooking. Okay, thanks for being on. How you doing? Thank you for sharing the live, everybody. How you doing, Sister Taylor? Anybody if I miss you on any platform, we appreciate you. All right, thank you so much for being on. See, we got to have an honest dialogue now. Honest dialogue now. Right? How you doing, James? Welcome back. Thank y'all for sharing. Right? Honest dialogue. You're carrying the psyche of other relationships and trying to bring them in to your marriage. How you doing? Just right there. I'm still not sure. One of these days we have to talk just so I can be sure I'm pronouncing your name right. Right? You hear what I'm saying? A lot of you are carrying, right? A lot of you are carrying somebody else's thought process still in the relationship that you have. Look at Ruth. Naomi says, Ruth, look, your husband's gone, right? Both of my sons are gone. Your brother-in-law is gone. My husband's gone. She's like, I'm kind of giving up. I'm going to go back. How you doing, Etheridge? I'm going to go back, Sister Etheridge. I'm going to go back. I'm going to sell everything I have. Who knows what's going to happen after that. She even changes her name from, I believe her name meant like, she was like a really sweet flower to then all of a sudden like the name became something having to do with death or something like that. I forget what she changed the name to and what the meaning is, forgive me. But she changes the name and everything, her authority and everything. She says, I'm not going to be Naomi anymore. I'm done with it. I don't have any grandchildren. I don't have any sons, which means even my legacy, my husband's legacy, it's done. You know, she's just like, whatever. And she gives Ruth and Orpah an opportunity to go back. They both will not go back the first time. Second time, she kind of reiterates, like, hey, please, leave me alone, go. And so Orpah's like sad, but she's like, all right, I guess. So Orpah goes back. When she left, she went back to what? To her people, to her nationality, to her belief systems, to what she used to be. She went away from where she was. She loved where she was, but then she decided to leave it and go back. But what did Ruth say? What made Ruth qualified to be a wife? What made Ruth a quality when Boaz saw her? Boaz tells her this. This is not something I'm making up. If you go back and read Ruth, you'll discover that Boaz says this to her when she starts saying, trying to talk about who she is, this and that. He's like, oh yeah, I wouldn't be coming up on you just randomly. I've been studying. I've been hearing about you. We know about what you did. We know Naomi was about to go ahead and check out, and you the reason she came to her senses. We know that you've been listening to her. We know that you're obedient. So Ruth says, what made Ruth of quality and made her qualified for, and what therefore qualified Boaz to even come up to Ruth and reestablish Naomi so that he can go ahead and be with Ruth was what? She had to say, no, I'm not going back. For your people, that means your nation, are my nation, and your Elohim, who you worship, who you're married to, shall be my Elohim. When she made that statement, that made her qualified to be Israel. So Ruth, from that point, even though I know in English they'll keep telling you she's the Moabite, she's the Moabite. From that point on, she was a Moabite, is the context. She was a Moabite. However, once she made that decision, she said, your people, your nation, becomes my nation. That's right, Ruth was all in. She said, I could go back. You gave me permission. I saw Orpah, my sister-in-law, who I have love for. I see her go back. Right? My sister-in-law was just as much wanted to be part of this as I did, but she wouldn't put in the work. Right? So Orpah went and in faith worked something that even though she might have had faith that what she was in was something that made it difficult for her to leave, she decided to go ahead and work against what she had faith in. Ruth says, I have faith in it, and I'll work it, even though, Naomi, you do not know what's coming up next. I do not care. I'm following you. Shalom, Miss Q. How you doing? Thank y'all for the love. Thank y'all for the shares. All that great stuff. Appreciate you. Right? We're tracking. So, you have to recognize Israel, wife. Those who are going to love Israel, those who are going to love the wife. You've got to, first of all, become Israel before you comprehend how this works. So much so that we're going to do this 4 pieces we've talked about before. Right? I guess this is the 3 piece of the biscuit. The 4 piece of the biscuit when we talk about racism and white supremacy. Here's the 3 pieces of the biscuit concerning who Israel is. Right in your Bible. Right in your 66 books. Don't even have to go to the other ones for those of you who fight against those. You ready? And thank y'all for the repost. I see you. Right? Here we go. 3 pieces of the biscuit. 3 pieces of the biscuit. So when you come up and you try to order marriage at SOC, you try to order marriage in Yahadashah, right? This is the 3 pieces in the biscuit. This is what you order. Okay? Right? It's going to cost you. It's going to cost you obedience, but it's going to provide. It's going to feed you eternal life. Holy Spirit, that's a bar right there. All right, peek in. All right, you ready? Thank you, babe. I see you. All right, this is. It's going to cost you what? It's going to cost you obedience, but it's going to feed you eternal life. My goodness. All right. First piece is Genesis chapter 3. We're going to go. I'm going to say them all first, and then we're going to go through them. Genesis chapter 3. That's the first piece. All right. Second piece is let me go in order. Isaiah chapter 9. Genesis chapter 3, first piece. Second piece, Isaiah chapter 9. Third piece is Jeremiah chapter 3. And the fourth piece is Revelation 12. I'm going to say it 2 more times. First piece, Genesis chapter 3. Second piece, Isaiah chapter 9. Third piece, Jeremiah chapter 3. And the fourth piece, I'm sorry, and the biscuit. Sorry, the biscuit, Revelation 12. And thank you, Elder Tamara. I see you. I appreciate it. All right, first piece, once again, Genesis chapter 3. Second piece, Isaiah chapter 9. Third piece, Jeremiah 3. And the biscuit, Revelation 12. You ready? First piece, Genesis chapter 3. Adam and Isaac, who we know as Adam and Eve, have sinned, right? They gave the Most High made an offering, covered their sins, but at the same time, simultaneously, it's honest with them, tells them there's going to be curses. And he tells them one of the things that they can look forward to, though, that's going to correct things, is that there's going to be a child that will be born. The child is born, the serpent will nip at his heel, but the child will crush his head. What a lot of persons do with that scripture is, and I get it, especially if you think about only within English context or Christian context. A lot of persons, what they do with that scripture, they say, oh, that's talking about Christ. They're correct about that. They think that means Christ is coming out of Eve. And technically, that would be correct. Technically, that would be correct. Technically. The problem, though, is that this is not who the woman is, right, that is saying. Eve, sure, is the woman, the mother of all creation, because through her bloodline, through Adam and Eve's bloodline, the only person that will be left, right, on after the flood will be the person from Adam and Isaac, from Adam and Eve, right? Noah and his family are their seminal head is Adam and Eve. So therefore, if Adam is the seminal head and Eve came out of Adam, then the mother of all creation that's left after the flood has to be whom? Has to be Isaac, has to be Eve. Right? How you doing, K. Will? Right, now here's the next part. Here's the next part, though. The woman is going to give birth to a son. The woman is Israel. The wife is Israel. The only one that the Most High is intimate with in the spirit, sleeps with in the spirit, has children with in the spirit, is Israel. So much so that before some of you say, no, because I already know some of you are already going to go here. No, we're all God's children. We're all Yah's children. No, you're not. Because Genesis chapter 3 tells you that there's children of the devil and there's children of the Most High. And it says that the children of the devil and of the Most High are at enmity one with another. Quick question. What does enmity mean? Seriously, quick question. If one is at enmity with someone else, if something is at enmity with something else, right? They're enemies, they're at war, they're pit against each other, there's conflict. That's why when you see things in the world that are jacked up, you react the way that you do because you're at enmity. When you see brothers out there who are messing with underage girls, it hits you the way it does because you're at enmity, right? When you see little girls, right, who are not modest, it hits you the way it does because you're at enmity. When you see children talking back to their parents, you look at your child and your child knows this is a look that says, I better not ever talk back to my parent. Why? Because your parent letting you know I'm at enmity with that. And it's Adele, please forgive me, I don't know how to pronounce it. Thanks for being on, thanks for being part of the community. I'm sorry, thank you for the love, appreciate it. Right, they're at enmity. They're at enmity. Right? So we're at enmity with the devil. But somebody says, no, you just talking. How are you going to say the woman is Israel? The Bible doesn't say that. Okay, so that was the first piece, Genesis 3. Here's the second piece. Second piece, Isaiah chapter 9. Isaiah, by the way, and all of Isaiah is talking to whom? We need to go through it again. Isaiah 53 says, who shall believe our report? Right? It's talking about Israel. Right? Isaiah 54. He says, no weapon formed against us shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against us shall be condemned, for it's the heritage of Israel. And he says in Isaiah 54, verse 5, he speaks of us as once again, Yahweh speaking through Isaiah, says that we are his wife. That's right, we're against the enemy if we're at enmity, right? So you see all these different things? So we see clearly who Isaiah is talking about. Now, Isaiah chapter 9, then this refers to who? If he's talking about Israel in Isaiah 54, he's talking about Israel in Isaiah 55. Matter of fact, even Isaiah 65, I'm making a new heaven, a new earth, the former things will pass away, behold, all things become new. Right? That's still talking about who? Israel. You got to be grafted in. That's why Paul and all his teachings that y'all keep saying are anti what I'm saying. His teachings say in Romans chapter 11 that you still can't get rid of the root of the tree. If you get rid of the root of the tree, or you try to say that you're a branch grafted in, but the tree is the tree, then if you're grafted into the tree, if you're a wild olive that's been grafted into an original olive tree, even if you're a wild olive being brought in, you can't be grafted into the tree if the tree itself is not original. What is the original tree? The original olive is Israel. So we can't get rid of it. And he says, if you teach against that, he says, Elohim forbid. Anybody who teaches against that is into what the Bible describes as Balaam doctrine, or the teachings or the Torah of Balaam. Somebody messing with our Torah, our doctrine, our instruction, our laws that we're governed by. It tells you this in Revelation chapter 3, verse 14, that anybody who does this from pulpits or places where they try to take your power away, we're warned about you in Revelation 3:15, to where we're told to worry about Balaam doctrine, but in Revelation 3:15, we're told to worry about Nicolaitan doctrine, where persons try to conquer us from pulpits or conquer us from high places to keep trying to feed us information that's messing up who we are. So your perception of marriage is coming from the enemy, who you're supposed to have enmity with. But in Isaiah chapter 9, back to Isaiah chapter 9, it says, a child of us is born. Who's us? See, somebody's going to try to get covered. No, it's talking about the church. There was no such word as church. Yeah. No, it's talking about Christians. There's no such thing as a Christian. Now, if somebody has evidence contrary, feel free, but I promise you their evidence is false. If you talking about you believe in the Bible, if that's your canon, show me where the Bible tells you. How you doing, perfect? How you doing, Brother Omar? Right? Show me in your Bible where it tells you that the Christian is what it was talking about. When it says, a child to us is born. Now, the person who gives up the world and comes into the kingdom, that's for you. But the kingdom that you grabbed into, according to Genesis 28, where heaven meets earth, it's called Israel. If anybody has evidence to the contrary, let it be made known. We're going to have to go old school one of these days and bring back, it's been years, but bring back to when people, we just let people come in and talk and argue with us even online. Right? They're gonna have to. I'm gonna have my stuff together, so I don't end up looking crazy on everybody. But I'm just saying, right? The evidence. There's zero evidence. There's zero evidence. How you doing, Hasidic law? There's zero evidence. You have to talk about Israel, because Israel is the only nation to ever be created 100% under the laws and the guidance of Yah. And it's the only group of people, the only nation that's ever been talked about as being married to the Most High Yah. If you are talking about anybody else being married and you're trying to be part of anybody else, you are committing spiritual adultery. Salah. Come on. I'm trying to block you. I'm trying to bless you. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to get you away from Deuteronomy 28:15 through 68. I'm trying to keep you in Deuteronomy 28:1 through 14. I'm trying to show you the importance of Deuteronomy 27. We can't treat our wives correctly, beloved. We can't protect our wives because we do not even believe in protecting Israel. Wives don't even know about submitting to the mission of their husbands, because what's the mission of the husband? The mission of the husband is to make sure that they protect Israel, because Israel is the wife of Yah, and to be protected by Yah, because they are the spiritual wife of Yah, and to lift up Yah, because they're supposed to treat Yah the way that the wife treats them, and they're also part of the assembly of the nation called Yahadashah, called Israel. How you doing, bold servant? You see what I'm saying? How do you become a wife, and the Bible keeps talking about be like Israel, but you deny who Israel is? May I? All right. Like I said, this is going to mess with person's theology and stuff today. It's all right. It's all right. I love it. We're going to break some stuff down, and there's going to be some persons who will be upset, who will be frustrated, there'll be persons who question it, and feel free to ask questions while we're doing this. I know it's a lecture, but y'all know how we do here. Right? Hear what I'm saying? How do you pray for your wife if you don't know how to pray for Israel? I messed with somebody's head there, because you know what? Some of y'all don't even think about praying for Israel. But Israel is key. Revelation chapter 7, all the persons grafted in do not get into heaven until Israel is sealed. So how do you, if you're not working towards Israel being sealed, how are you working towards your wife being sealed? Hmm? Come on, somebody. Come on. Come on. Right? It hurts for us to go down this road. It hurts for us to say these things. It hurts for us when we get frustrated when somebody brings this up. But this is the reality. Seriously, how are you going? How do you take care? Look, Yah takes care of his wife by demanding that we put something aside for his wife, for his bride, for Israel. Right? The tithe is to put something aside for his wife. Am I not? Oh, Holy Spirit is cooking. Thank y'all for the love. Look, might I show you something? Even when it tells us, it teaches us about the tithe is for the Levite, for the widow, for the orphan, for the poor, for the stranger. Yes, there are other occasions where we might dabble in it. The reality is, though, that's the main reason. Not for building a church, not for rebuilding the temple, not for, no, the first things first, the tithe is supposed to be for, set aside for the people who, when they have need. Right, so a lot of persons don't even understand. That's why you need an offering on top of the tithe. Now, a lot of your places, they use your tithe for the church and to pay everybody to do it. No. What's supposed to happen is the tithe is set aside. The side, right? The tithe is sanctified. The tithe is holy. It's sanctified. It's set apart. Y'all missed that. The tithe is supposed to be for the people who have need. So when the people have need, when we need to do stuff for the people, when we need to make sure stuff is taken care of, that's what the tithe is for. Right? Not for building, not for this. That's what the tithe is for. Now the offering helps us with things outside of the tithe. If persons have this mindset, oh, well, offerings is chump change when I feel like it. A lot of persons don't even tithe and give true tribute or give to at least bare minimum tithe by definition, even though that's not what we called it originally, but tithe by definition is 10%. Most persons just kind of give whatever, and they say, oh, this is the tithe. No, it's a tithe. It's the first, it's a tribute to your king, and the king takes your tribute. He doesn't need your tribute. In the kingdom, see, every culture is different. In our culture, the king takes your tribute and puts it to the side for when we have need. Now watch this though. When it talks about your tithe, and it talks about the Levites, the widow, the orphan, the poor, the stranger. Have you ever thought about the fact that if Yah loves his wife so much that he puts things to the side for those particular versions of her, have you ever thought about those versions of your wife? Somebody missed it. I'm gonna try to explain it. Your wife and you, I need you to comprehend this. Your wife and you, I'm going to use the terms that we love to hear. Your wife and you are husband and wife. Your wife and you are best friends, right? I don't know any kind of friends that you can lay down with and not be best friends. The world does some of that stuff. We don't do that, right? So your wife and you are husband and wife. Your wife and you are business partners. Your wife and you are best friends. Your wife and you are parents together. Your wife and you co-parent. Your wife and you, well, I don't co-parent. Okay, the world uses co-parent differently. We won't say co-parent. Your wife and you parent together. Your wife and you have children together. Your wife and you will travel together. Your wife and you pay rent together. Your wife and you pay mortgage together. Your wife and you have business together. Your wife and you eat food every day together. Come on, right? This is what happens. So you and your wife have multiple ways of seeing each other. And sometimes you argue. Can I help you? See, this once we look at Israel, we can start breaking down how we treat our wives, brothers. Sisters, once we see how Israel works, we can see how we treat our husbands, sisters. Look, in our culture, we're going to run into different versions of our wives. Right? Sometimes you have to know. Like, you might have to make it known. If you come to your husband, you come to your wife, you might have to say, hey, I need you to hear what I'm saying. See, because we're all these things together. We're one. See, we have businesses together. So I'm going to come to, so the bills that we're doing, that's business. So if you're going to your spouse and you say, we need to have a conversation about how we spend finances, you need to recognize that that's not your husband or your wife in that moment as far as what you think they are. You need to make sure that y'all are mature enough to say, hey, we're business partners right now. I'm not going to take it like, oh, so you don't think that I can have this, or look at your money, or you have a right. How dare you tell me to spend? See, that's how dating works. But you're married. You're an institution. And there's certain things that should be institutionalized. So in this institution, we need funds. So baby boy, your wife might walk up to you and say, look, I'm trying to do everything you're saying, but you ain't giving me enough money to do so. We need to figure this out. And instead of being like, well, I pay for this, I pay for that, and I take care of this, you might need to shut up for a second and be like, she's not talking to me as far as the person that put the ring on the finger. She's talking to me as the person who signed the documentation and we went into business together. Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me, beloved? See, it's the same person, but they got on a different hat. It's the same person, but they have a different title right now. It's the same person, but we're talking business. We're not talking about the sexual you. We're not talking about the person who takes care of the bills. We're not talking about the person who cleans the house. We're not talking about the person who's a parent over the children. Right now, we're talking business. Let it be business. Okay, I'm gonna try. If you can, and you screen recording, if you can, send me it too. If you can call, please, because I like to post that myself. Right? I'm trying. I can't always clip my stuff the way I like to, but here we go. You ready? When you're getting into a marriage, you are not just husband and wife in the traditional sense. You're in an institution. So there's times that you're a husband and wife. There's times that you're dealing with just being best friends. There's time that you're dealing with being marital partners. There's time that business partners. We have a partnership. There's times that you're talking about you guys cleaning things together. There's times that you're talking about, hey, this is what we own, right? There's times that you're going to be each other's great supporters when you're going through. There's times that you're going to be each other's psychotherapists, right? How you doing, Sister Shima? All those things are going on, right? You two are becoming one in many areas, right? You were becoming one in everything. So you need to understand that sometimes your spouse is going to come to you and say, we need to talk about finances. We need to talk about money. And your spouse, when they say we need to talk about money, you need to not get offended and start going into, well, I do this and I do that and I took care of this bill and I blah, blah, and I took that and this and that. If they're coming, we're going to have a conversation. Both sides need to be mature enough to say, hey, this is the business side. This is not the side that I put the ring on the finger. This is the side to where when we sign the dotted line on our contract to make sure that we are pooling our money and being all in, the business is not doing so well. So let's not take account, right? There's going to be times, brother, where your wife might be like, hey, you are grody, you are being nasty, you being disgusting. She's not saying you're a bad husband, not this. She's saying, hey, if my responsibility is to clean the house, I need you to do some things differently because you're making it difficult to clean. Come on, somebody, right? If he's saying, hey, babe, I like to be able to have more of this or more of that, and you're like, how he's saying this, and he don't realize children. He's not saying that you're a bad mother. He's not saying blah, blah. He's saying in this instant, put on this cap so that we can have a conversation about this. See, when Yah tells Israel to be 100% holy, we don't go, oh, well, Yah, I'm holy at 85%. We say, Yah, you're right, I can improve in the 15. Mm-hmm. Oh, somebody don't want to hear that, right? With Yah, there is no 80-20. Put that 80-20 rule somewhere else. We ain't never had no 80-20 rule. We ain't never said it's okay to leave somebody because of 20. We help the person and we give the person the space to improve in 20. And we realize that we got a 20, we got to improve in ourselves because how dare we talk about the chaff in their eye and not deal with the 2x4 hanging out of ours. The beam hanging out of ours, 2x4 too small, right? But hear what I'm saying though, there ain't no 80-20, we trying to get 100-100. Whatever is happening with you, it's happening with me. So if I need you, see brothers, be careful when y'all be talking about this stuff. If I need you to be in shape, y'all be like, well, you used to be in shape, you used to be da-da-da, you blah, blah, you're not the same. No, if you're not in shape, I'm not in shape. Hey, babe, we're going for a walk. Hey, babe, we going to the gym. I don't care if you got a six pack. I don't care if you 6'6", 235 pounds, 2% body fat. I don't care, right? I don't care you run a mile in 4 minutes and 30 seconds. That's if she's not in shape, you're not in shape. What did you not do? See, brothers, this is where it gets heavy, right? Wash wash by water of the word. Is that Ephesians 5, right? If you're supposed to present her to yourself. Now, sisters, you got a lot of presentation because you got to hear this now. But sometimes, for whatever reason, you listen to somebody else rather than your husband. So if I may, I speak man. Sometimes he's not saying it and speaking woman, right? We trying to learn men are from Mars, women from Venus. We're trying to get better than that. Love languages, we're trying to get better than that, right? Sometimes we use the art of war against each other rather than actually using it to fight against the enemy, right? But hear what I'm saying. You gotta allow him to lead, because he can't lead you. Like you say, he gotta protect you. So he must lead. He can't protect but won't follow. Or if he can't protect what doesn't follow, then he can't. If he's going to protect what doesn't follow, then he can't lead. So I get it. I get it. You got to hear that. How you doing, Rebel Healer? I get it. We like to just go over that. Oh, he just being. Oh, it's a misogynistic thing. No, like I've been in the military before, right? I've done served. I've served. I done served. I promise you. If you're gonna lead, you got to be in the lead. If you go and lead and everybody else stays back, the leader gets off. And then we lose the leader anyways. So that is the case. That being said, right? If he's leading, if he's being allowed to lead, and he should be in the word to be allowed to lead. Remember, she's following you as you follow the Messiah. So if you're following if he's following the Messiah though, and you're being allowed to lead, brothers, then guess what? Then when you see something that's not correct, you wash it by water, spirit, people, water of the word, of the law. This is where we mess up. This is where I messed up a lot of times, a plethora of times. Right? This is where we mess up. We're going to start saying this. We're going to start yelling. We're going to start fussing. We're going to start cussing. We're going to start bringing up everything up. First things first, what's the word say? Instead of you messing up and and I'm doing this and you making the blah blah and the children that and we got all this. Hey babe. First of all, I want you to know I love you. I respect you. I appreciate you. I honor you. You're still the apple of my eye, right? Like Christ did with the 7 assemblies, except for the 7th one. You see, for all the assemblies, before he starts breaking down this one thing I have, this one thing I have against him, he always starts off with, hey, I see you. I see you doing great things. I see you going through tribulation and making it. I see that you got martyrs out there. I see that you've been doing it. I see that you call out those that say that they are apostles and are not. I see that you in your word. I see that you've had faith for this person and that person, all that. He said, but then after that, he says, but in all those great things I see, may I tell you that I see there's one thing that's making it difficult for me to be able to really wrap my arms around you and embrace you. All right, thank you. Right, it's a completely different thing, is it not? Every assembly had a different issue. It's the same body, with different assemblies. Who that assembly is, who that wife is at that moment in time. The husband says, "I'll speak to you on that level." Right? Ephesus, when I'm speaking to you, your issue is love. It's not that you never loved me, but you're just going through the motions. You forgot to love me as your first love. Sisters, I know you hate this, but may I tell you something? Because you probably don't think about it from the outside, and men don't usually have an opportunity to say this. Men don't like it when they're not your first love. I know we don't want to hear this, but we're supposed to think of the man as being in the stead of Elohim, right? He's created to be in that stead, to be in that position. But if he's in that position, right? Does Elohim want to be your second, your third, your fourth, your fifth love? Real talk. Is that what is that what he prefers? Is the first commandment? Is the first commandment you can have other chams to worship besides me? But go on, Audrey, how you doing? How you doing in real life? Are you with me? You hear what I'm saying? Come on, don't leave. I know we might be going into work, we might be traveling, whatever. If you're able, talk back to me just for a second. I just want to make sure you're hearing me. Does the Most High say in His law, in the first commandment, hey, go ahead, do what you know. If there's somebody else out there, it's okay. It's all right if you go ahead and lay down with so. It's all right if you go to whomever. It's all right if you do whatever. Is that what He says? No. He says, I want to be first. See, we have a dating thing to where watch this. Y'all puts you first. And He expects to be put first back. Brothers and sisters supposed to be the same. But if I may be talking about Israel, right? Tomorrow we're going to talk about Yah. So we're learning about Yah, we're going to learn about husbands. So we're going to focus on the wife a lot today. Hear what I'm saying? Right? Why? Hear me. You ready? Your husband wants to be put first too. And you'll say, it's ego, it's this, it's that. But when Yah says commands, He says, hey, love your husband. Right, loving your husband is how you love me. Because your husband's the vessel. So submit to the mission of your husband because his mission should be mine. Don't submit just to the man, right? It's not submit to the man. It's submission, submit to his mission. I know it hurt. It's difficult to deal with. Right? Yeah, not your fraternity, not your sorority, not all that. You put Yah first. Wives, you put Israel, you put Yah first. Wives, you put your husband first. And what do I mean by this? Just in case you're missing it. Because some of you are still not thinking about it, because once again, we come from date culture, stuff like that, so we're missing. I can feel it in my spirit. Your husband, when you think he's just going off, he's ego-driven, blah, blah, he's designed to know that who he is putting first puts him first. So yes, your husband needs to learn how to say, I love you more. Your husband needs to make sure that he's more affectionate. Your husband needs to give you more quality time. Your husband needs to touch you in all the places that make you feel nice and sweet. Your husband needs to be paying more attention to you when you get your hair done and your nails done. Your husband needs to pay attention to all the sacrifices you're doing, for sure. But guess what? Your husband also needs to get the same things back. And when he hears you, this is why when your husband hears you talking about Pastor Kofi, blah, blah, a lot of your husbands turn you off. When you say, Bishop T.D. Jakes was talking about, a lot of your husbands turn you off. When they hear well, Joel Osteen, Joyce Meyer, Paula White, what's the girl's name? I'm trying to say the singer, not Yolanda Adams, but starts with a J, I think. I can't recall the name right now. But you'll tell all these different persons, oh yeah, they were this, blah, blah. Your husband said the same thing, and you can't hear it. But preacher so-and-so says, your daddy said, your mama said, your people say, Mama say, Mama Sama Maku say, right? Everybody else say something, and then so I get husbands that are automatically mad at me when I'm meeting them for the first time, and I recognize it. So I go way out of my way to give them respect because they think that I'm trying to give respect to you or trying to treat you. Look, I have a wife. I can't give nobody no wife respect, right? There are certain things that your husband should get. Can we have honest dialogue? Right? We understand it with Yah. We don't say it's Yah's ego. We don't say it's Yah. We say because Yah loves us, we love him. But when it comes to the husband, oh well, you're supposed to do that. You want a cookie, blah, blah. I'm telling you, it's not an ego thing. And by the way, here's part of the problem too, because your husbands haven't been taught, right? Because men aren't supposed to, even from little boys, we're not taught that it's important for us to emote properly. So we've never been taught to actually, and a lot of times we're not even allowed. And be like, what you want, boy? What you want? Why don't you go ahead? Right? That's how we talk to our sons. Thank y'all for the love and how you doing, Mr. Mom? Right? That's how we talk to these babies. So these boys grow up like, I'm not supposed to say anything. I'm just supposed to take it. Juanita bind it. That's all I was thinking of. Thank you. Right? So they grow up thinking, I'm not supposed to do this. I'm not supposed to say, okay, yeah. That's how we talk to them. Go ahead, speak up. Go ahead, you can just say whatever you want. Why you just speak up? Speak up. That's not causing your son to want to speak up. That's causing your son to want to shut down. Especially for single mothers. Can I just tell you that? I promise you, that boy, when he hears that, you think that you're teaching him to be, you're teaching him to shut down. It's a mechanism, yes. Right? I'm not saying that a child doesn't have a child's place. Of course, there's order and structure. Hear what I'm saying? A lot of those times that you swear up and down, go ahead, speak up, blah, blah. And if the shoe fits, wear it. If it doesn't, take it off. If you don't do it, cool. If you do it, or if you used to do it, I'm speaking to you. Matter of fact, more importantly, Holy Spirit is speaking to you. We have a lot of stuff that we be allowing, and it's not kingdom. A kingdom divided against itself can stand. I'm trying to tell you, we're raising the next generation of husbands and wives, the next generation of persons that will carry the bloodstained banner, the next generation of Israel who will live separate from the world. And we cannot keep doing the same thing, expecting for curse to break. You a curse breaker, daddy. You a curse breaker, mama. Right? Girls are a little different, but we shut girls down too. But girls are taught to be shut down to the point to where they believe submission. That's why they bucket. That's why a lot of our sisters bucket in submission, because they taught submission is basically just sit there, shut the F up, be buck naked, and barefoot pregnant in the kitchen. That's not what the word says either, right? So they get caught up in stuff too. Now, or the girl who was raised like that, or has a husband that's trying to treat her like that before her and her husband break up or whatever, she'll raise her girls to say, no, you don't need to take that. You don't take that off the man. And you're right, you don't take that off the man. That's why you should have a kingdom husband. But at the same time, don't teach these babies to live in reverse order. You know that's what it means. I know I didn't finish 3 pieces of biscuit. We're going to come back. I got to be led by Holy Spirit on this, right? That's what Willie Lynch said he would do to our people. He said that he was going to have it set up to where our mothers were going to raise, thank you, Sister Erica, our mothers were going to raise these babies in reverse order. You've been raised in reverse order. You've been raised where the women are trying to be Yah in the relationship, and the men are trying to be Yahadasha in the relationship. So men don't protect women, and women don't think they need protection from men. Men don't love women. Women don't necessarily think they need the love of a man. Right? This is purposefully done, and we have to go back to the origins of what we believe and what our versions of this stuff is, rather than the person who oppressed you by getting you to hate one another. You're not going to build any kind of nation properly, and you hate one another. Forgive me, right? Forgive me if this is too much for you. I give you trigger warning. I talk about racism, white supremacy. Right? We ain't even talked about it till now. So for those of you who say, all you do is talk about race, I ain't even talked about it till now. Right? However, I gotta show you something. Nowhere, no people on the earth, ever, no nations, except ours. So I'm talking about Israel, I'm talking about the Negro, because, right, I'm telling you, no nation besides ours catches flack for us saying that husbands and wives should be husbands and wives. No nation but ours. I'm not talking about that there can't be homosexuality, blah, blah, this and that. I'm talking about no nation but ours catches flack for saying that husbands should be husbands and wives should be wives. And wives are not doormats. Husbands are not doormats either. Husbands nor wives should be in front, behind, above, beneath. But we should walk side by side as one. Right? No nation catches flack for that but us. Bluetooth, right? In other words, how you doing, Sister Nikita? Watch this. In other words, watch this. If you go to Japan, do Japanese men say, man, we're not ever going to marry a Japanese woman? I'm not saying, look, you can find, somebody going to look and find, I'm going to find the exception to the rule. For real though. Right? You might see some exceptions to the rule, but you're not going to see a Japanese man and say, I never need a Japanese woman. You're never going to see a Japanese woman say, anybody but a Japanese man. No. Because it messes up the society. It messes up the whole kingdom. It messes up the nation. You can't be Japanese and not have Japanese marriages. right? You can have persons who are grafted in, but you got to have a foundation of Japanese. It's expected. If I go to, you know what, matter of fact, babe, I'm going off of the stories you told me, right? I'm not a child of it. I'm not somebody who's lived there, but you've lived there at least, a couple summers or a couple years, right? Basically, right? And Switzerland, in Swiss. Yeah, you got Eastern, or you got German Swiss, you got French Swiss. I forget what the third Swiss is. Please forgive me. I'm forgetting the other one all the time. But you got Swiss. But Swiss are still gonna marry the Swiss, even if they be like, "Why are you marrying German Swiss? Why are you marrying it?" But the Swiss is gonna marry Swiss. There ain't no, oh, nobody could ever. Now, yes, are there once again exceptions to the rule? No, I mean, yeah, but for the most part, it's all right. In Italian, I thought it was Italian. Sometimes I say Germanic. I don't know. I mean, sometimes I say, I forget what the other one, but yeah, thank you. So it is French, German, Italian. So they might be like, we on this, or we on the French stuff. Sometimes the French and the German thing was real over there. They really, like, what you messing with this? Why you calling it? Why you got to get one of ours? Type thing, right? But ultimately, Swiss marry Swiss. I'm not even talking about white. I'm talking about nationality, right? You don't hear somebody talking about, man, an English person talking about, I'll never marry an English person. Yes, are there exceptions? Yeah. But you don't hear nobody talking about, oh, I hate all English men, I hate all English women. Now you're starting to get a lot of it because of all of the stuff that really started with the FBI and the CIA here in America with feminism and now feminist movement, how it's expanded. But even still, ultimately, if you're going to marry, it's thought about you going to marry somebody within proximity. Can something change and blah, blah? No, but you'll have persons who are of the same nation, right? Of the same culture, exactly. They think you fall in love with your culture. Even if you got a bad relationship with your mama, that's why mamas be careful how you raise your children. Even if you got a bad relationship with mama, you'll probably marry somebody like mama. And you'll treat your spouse like daddy or mama taught you. Even if you got a bad relationship with daddy, you will probably, in some way, shape, or form, marry somebody like daddy. Or if they're not like daddy, you will start telling them stuff. Even if your daddy was bad, you'll start comparing them to daddy and saying, daddy at least did blah, blah. You better be, you know why? Because you're going to marry somebody within proximity of your culture. Right? If you go to Brazil, you don't hear Brazilians talking about, I'll never marry a Brazilian. That the Brazilian woman is the downfall of Brazil, or that the Brazilian man is the downfall of Brazil. Why? Because I need the Brazilian woman to make sure Brazil stays Brazil. Are there persons grafted in? Sure, of course. But if they become part of us, they still got to fall in line with Brazil. So even if you are somebody who's not Brazil by birth, but now have become born again into Brazil, we're still going to treat you like Brazil as long as you make sure you put Brazil first. Only in the kingdom. Only for the Negro. Only for the Israelite. Are we having brothers out here who say that if you don't have a woman that's conquered and can't be an Israelite woman, she has to be a fake version of Israelite woman. She has to be an enslaved Israelite woman for you because she's enslaved for them. That's what you be saying, brother. That's what you sound like. I know you think you sound like you wise and this and that. What you sound like is this. Man, you know what? When she with the white man, that's what you sound like. When she with the white man, she do this, and she do that, and she'll lay down with him, and she'll blah, blah, and she do that. And you're not wrong per se, but hear what I'm saying. Even when she's doing it for him, if that's what our argument is, she's still not being herself. When I watch the way they interact with white men, when I interact with the way they interact with this, she does this. And when she goes to her job, first of all, that's her job. Like, I get it. I'm with you to a certain degree. If you don't treat your boss like that, you should be able to treat me better. That being said, it's her job, fool. I understand. My wife and I, when we got together and she was the breadwinner and she was making the money and stuff like that, and we have an argument, guess what I would always do? We have an argument, you get ready to go for work. We weren't really having them big or anything like that. I'm just saying, if we start having stuff and it start getting to a point, I still got to get her to work. I still got to make sure things are there. I still got to be back to take care of this and that at the house. I still got to make sure that things are there. I still got to make sure I'm ready to pick her up. She got to be prepared for her boss and blah, blah. She don't need to be thinking about me all day. At some point, I cut it off. Hey, babe, I'm sorry. You got to get ready for work. We got to get you over there, right? It's understood. That's her job, right? You got to figure out how to be more mature right? But that being said, you have to understand that when she's coming back, first of all, like I'm all over the place. I know I know I'm all over the place. We'll make sure we hit this stuff. We still got what 7 more days of this, something like that after this. So I promise we'll hit stuff I'm missing today because I'm not in my notes at all. I'm still haven't even got through the second piece. I told you I was gonna do 3 pieces of biscuit. We might have to do that tomorrow, tomorrow or tonight. I don't know, right? Hear me, beloved. Hear me, beloved. If you're marrying a woman who is not healed from being enslaved, you don't try to enslave her and expect the woman that's not free from the enslavement to say, I'll just go from being enslaved by them to being enslaved by you. She's supposed to come to us for freedom. I'm going to say it again. I don't know if y'all heard that the truck in the background. I want to make sure you hear every piece of that. If she just come out of 400 plus years of chattel slavery, why is she supposed to come out of that chattel slavery and come to this chattel slavery? See, you're not trying to love her the way that Christ loved the assembly. You're trying to love her the same way that you say the white man loves her. We got to deal with this, brothers. And I know this is uncomfortable for those of you who ain't black. But we got to deal with this, brothers. Like, a lot of us are trying to say, hey, when you're saying, see, I've had to learn how to change this because even in some of my stuff, when I would be like, she not listening, she not here, I've had to go through some of that, especially in the last like 4 or 5 years. I've started like hearing myself and being like, okay, what am I asking her to hear? Because some of the stuff was asking for her to do the same stuff that basically she's trying to run away from. It's a lot. Pause and think about it. Some of the stuff she's trying to run away from. Even for those of you who have so-called mixed relationships and so-called white wives, they try to run away from that stuff too. Not to the same degree that we had it, but I'll admit, they trying to get away from it too. They was watching their husbands. Now you can say some of them were all the way in the blah blah, and that's the system, but I'm just telling you for a fact, they were watching their husbands running around and having babies with other persons and being told that they had it better just take it. They were being told that, hey, one day you're going to be led into the cut and and they were raised in some stuff that wasn't even true. They were taught that white people are the beginning of the world and the end all be all of everything, and that without white people, there would be nothing. And if they were raised in some of those things and they're trying to come out, they're trying to run away from it too. But if I might just focus on our sisters, right? So I want you to know I'm aware, right? I'm not going to be the pastor, not be holy, not be holistic, not be holy. But I'm focusing on sisters right now, right? So this might be a little heavy for some of you, and that's all right. It's going to be heavy for the sisters too, right? It's going to be heavy for the brothers. But I want you to hear this. We have a thought process of racism, white supremacy, right? And because we were raised in reverse roles, remember, how is it? See, we got to go Willie Lynch down. See, Israel, this was done to us. Willie Lynch was against us. Willie Lynch used Deuteronomy 28 as the playbook. You know that, right? Read Deuteronomy 28, 15 through 68, and then read the Willie Lynch letter and tell me the difference. Y'all was telling us about that from Moses. Moses was saying, hey, follow the law. Be aware of this stuff. They're coming to do it. Deuteronomy 28, 15 through 68, and read the Willie Lynch letter. You'll discover, especially once you get to about verse 54, you can go 54 through 57. By that time, you understand. It's the same thing. Right? We actually did a whole thing a long time ago in the Willie Lynch letter. It might be on the old channel that they canceled though. We might have to run that back at some point. Because if you see that, you'll see why all this wickedness, all the racism, all the colorism, all the different stuff, all the way of feeling about each other. That's why you have ageism. You hate people that as they get old. We don't look up to our elders. Willie Lynch said that we would do that. Great-grandpa and other cultures, nobody cares if great-grandpa is smelly. Nobody cares if great-grandpa has to wear a diaper. Nobody cares if great-grandpa is at the nursing home. Nobody cares if great-grandpa never does anything. The great-grandbabies come to see great-granddaddy. Do you know that we are raising a generation? This broke my heart. Holy Spirit, allow me to express my heart, but also keep me on track. Because I'm in an emotional space. Holy Spirit, hopefully I'm being on track. Hopefully you guys are getting this. Because I'm just being honest. This is my heart, Sean. All right? Y'all's heart, me in agreement with his heart. How you doing, Sister Cheryl? Sister Cheryl, excuse me. I was watching something the other day. It broke my heart. You know, we're raising a generation where there's a lot of babies that don't even know who Papa is. Now, I know people are raised different. You might say grandpa, granddad, grandfather, Abba, Yaya. Well, Yaya for a lot of Americans is grandmother, but Yaya is, you know, native to indigenous to African, and even a lot of, Israelites who were scattered over to Africa, they would say Yaya for grandfathers and stuff like that, and for fathers even. But, yeah, like we have a generation where they were asking grandchildren. It's like a thing they're starting to do, whatever you call it, a fad, whatever they call these things that come through on social media, everybody follows. The person are asking their grandbabies, like, who is Papa? And they're like, who is that? Because there's no, as much as we keep talking about patriarchy is an Israelite thing. Matter of fact, Israelites right now are trying to get fathers back in position. In Israel, we have a problem with trying to identify granddad. There's a lot of children that don't even know what that is. If you ask them 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, hey, who is Papa? Who is granddaddy? Who is it? Who? Is that, I saw one video, somebody was like, who is granddad? And they were like, and the child was like, is that like grandma? That's a problem. They reverse the roles. We don't even think about the necessity of the elder. And the elder is against the child. See, ageism isn't just one way. The elder is against the youth. So the youth, the young person coming up and showing them things, because remember, tradition is a trade. So we're trading information, or we have something we can trade or barter with each other. So if the generation before me is supposed to give me information that I can use, and then as I grow, I use that information, trade it back with you. Right? The elders raised us as babies. As they get older, they start getting more like babies, and we end up kind of raising them and getting them through the rest of their lives. But in Israelite society, we're taught to hate each other. See, this is all Willie Lynch stuff. Watch this. In the Willie Lynch letter, he told you straight up, the goal is to get you to reverse roles. Right? He said, in the Willie Lynch letter, if somebody wants to pull it up and check me, please feel free to. The Willie Lynch letter told us that the goal is to get us to reverse roles. Right? He says that the natural, here's beloved, here's beloved, he says the natural order is what they reverse. He celebrates it. It's a sermon he's giving, by the way, on Christmas Day, 1712, December 25th, 1712. He's giving a sermon, and he says the natural. He said we have reversed their natural order. He says that the N-word male and the N-word female, we'll just say Negro for now, but they call us the N-word male, the N-word female, because we're animals, but we're property. But he said the Negro male, in his natural order, would protect his woman, and he says his woman would look up to. Matter of fact, let's just read it, because somebody might try to say I'm making stuff up. And if you want, go ahead to your Google machine, right, and just look up Willie Lynch letter PDF. Oh, they got it in a different order now. You would do it. We've been teaching out of that for years. They don't change the order. Hold on, let me see which one we're gonna open up, because they do have different people doing different things with it. Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to show you which one we're going to use, because they done changed, they done moved the one that we use. That's interesting. Oh, they done moved it. They trying to make people pay for it now. That's crazy. We should have printed it out. I don't know if we got a printed copy. I'm pretty sure I got a printed copy somewhere. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. They got it on Google Play and everything. Man, they, whoa. All right, well, I found it. It's probably on one of the first ones that pop up. There's one that's really easy to just read through, right? They do all this extra stuff, and people like try to turn it into a book because they're trying to make money and do all this other stuff. Yeah. They got a whole different. Oh, it's wild. Oh wow. Okay, I'm gonna have to come off the dome. I'm gonna have to come off the dome. All right. I wanted to read it to make sure I was saying exactly. Let me see. Let me try one more. Oh, they want me to download it, but they want me to sign up for. Okay, hold up. Might have found something. Not sure. Might have found something. Let's see. Oh no, yeah, they trying to get me to sign up for stuff. Yeah, that's crazy work. Wow. You know they already got some black people believing that the Willie Lynch letter was completely made up. So, so it's only a matter of time. Now they're making it where you can't find it. Wow, that's crazy. Okay, I'm gonna have to do some research and find the letter, the straight up letter. Okay. Yeah, they call it slur, right? All right, I'm going to come off the dome. My apologies. But if you go read it, right? If you go read it, so you study to show thyself approved, I already told you what we're looking for. They're making it hard to find. All right. You got the book? Yeah, I'm looking for the letter. I'm looking for the original letter. The book is fine, but the book, you got to go through extra steps, right? I don't really have or access to ChatGPT. But feel free to look it up. Make sure you check what I'm saying. You'll discover that in the Willie Lynch letter, I just wanted to say it word for word, but I'm going to get pretty close. He basically says that the goal is to break down the natural order. He says that the natural order of us being in ourselves, which means the natural order of us being free. He says if we are free as a people, the natural order is not only that the husband or the man would protect his woman, that the husband would protect the wife, right? But he said the natural order, even for the Negro, is that the Negro male, right, would make it a point to not only protect his wife, but his wife would look up to him. Check the messages. Oh, you found something? Okay, hold on a second. Okay, that's pretty much it. Hold on one second. Somebody found it now. They said that I emailed it to myself and trying to put it up on one of the devices. Yeah, I think we got it. Alrighty, hold on. I think we got it. I gotta pull it up on another platform. All praise to the Messiah. Thank you, SOC family. Thank you, family. I still gotta do a little bit extra. Hold on, to get it up on here and still be seen and heard. But we're gonna get it. Okay. Let's check this out. I think it's it. Oh, it's telling me the file can't be accessed. I probably could click on it. I can click on it from the phone, but it won't. Oh, you know what? That's fine. Okay. How can we do this? Give me a second. I'm thinking. It's crazy. Okay, give me 1 second. We're gonna pause again. Just for. I'm sorry, y'all. Give me. I hope no more than 30 seconds. Hold on. Sorry, y'all. Hold on. I'm trying to get this right for you. We want to make sure that this is straight. Hold on a second. Okay. Now I just got to email the pictures to myself. Let me try this again. I think we got it. As soon as everything uploads, sorry y'all. Hold on. We're going. We're coming. Oh, all right. Okay, I think we got it. Okay, I think we got it. Give me a second. I found a way to get it there. And thank y'all for the help once again. Just give me a second. I gotta do all this extra stuff. Okay, it didn't show up in order, but that's okay. Okay, all right. Cool. So I'm gonna have to zoom in some, but we should be straight. All right. Hold on. Okay, I think we got you. We got it. Okay. All right. Cool. I remember how to zoom in. Praise God. All right. All right. So watch. So first things first. Willie Lynch said, right? Attack on the Negro. Attack on and the Negro is who? Is us. Same Israel we're talking about. Remember, Negro is an ancient way even of talking about a nationality. And I'm sorry, I know we just lost a bunch of people because I'm looking. Hopefully, you catch it on the recording. It is what it is, right? But let's go into this now. So, and if you don't mind sharing this, reposting, letting people know that we're on, whatever the case might be, I appreciate you. All right, now watch this. So we're gonna make a slave, right? Which is like kind of the context that they're coming through. Is talking about the. Oh wow, hold on. Okay, I see. Right? So it tells us that if you're going to talk about making slaves and you're going to do this and you're going to cause us to be against each other as a people, this is what you have to do. You ready? It says that you got to go against age, right? So the older versus the younger. So the generations can't teach each other. You have to deal with color, right? So light skin, dark skin, we got to make sure that the lighter skins are deemed to be better, the darker skins are deemed to be worse, which means that the darker skins will think of themselves as better than the lighter skins, and the lighter skins will think of themselves as better, or the lighter skins will think that they're oppressed by the darker skin, and the darker skin will think that they're oppressed by the lighter skin. And the reality is that we all oppressed by the same master, right? It says you got to even have, so the old, you got to put the young black male against the old black male. It says you got to put the dark skin against the light skin, right? And the light skin against the dark. It says you must have, and this is the part we're talking about, you must have the female against the male and the male against the female. You must also have white servants and overseers. Not just overseers, white servants and overseers, and this also means family too. You must have white, so-called white persons who are serving you, who therefore are under your tutelage as well and under your oppression, and overseers, those who are actually poorer sometimes than the slaves, but the only thing they are conditioned to think is, I can't be poorer than a slave because I'm white. I'm hanging on to whiteness. Now whiteness becomes currency, and darkness becomes poverty. So anything that we see between male and female, right, in the society that we were raised in. I'm not saying that's where you are now. I'm not saying you can't change. I'm not saying that you can't grow. I'm not saying that you cannot see it differently. I'm not saying that you cannot become better. I'm telling you how you were raised, right? I've been teaching this for a while, and I've been showing persons are finally starting to get to that Nearly Fuller Jr., right? Nearly Fuller Jr. been talking about this since, and had the book out since 91, 92, and done, and been teaching this since the 70s and 80s, right? With Dr. Frances Cress Welston. She used to actually bring him on her radio show, the way that he comes on the YouTube show and now speaks. She used to bring him on his stuff. He's been around for a while. How you doing, Eli? Eli Yahu, right? Hear me, beloved. This is something that was planned out. It's documented. And person trying to tell you this is real. And I tell persons this, even if somebody tries to tell you the Willie Lynch letter is not real, I always ask them, I say, okay, if you're somebody who's starting to fall for that question, is the stuff that's in it about some real stuff? Did they really do the stuff that we're going to say and even works? If the answer is yes, then it's still a blueprint. Right? But I'm teaching people that on that Lily Fuller. That's right. Lily Fuller Jr. says, every day that you wake up, and right, especially if you're in the West, really it's all over the world, but especially if you're in the West, If you're not looking for racism, white supremacy, and somebody says, wow, that's crazy, so you're saying we're not supposed to look for y'all first? No, no, no. We look for y'all first. I'm telling you, though, the system that you're in, if you're into Christian nationalism, you're into racism, white supremacy. So if you go to a black church is still built upon what? Christian nationalism. So they still have racism, white supremacy. So in the Christian church, that's why you have, so you know how there's a white church and a dark church, as James Baldwin said, if you want to catch the most segregated time in America, look for America at 11 a.m. on Sunday, right? Look for church service. When church service starts, you want to see segregation in America, you'll always find it there. You'll find it more so than in the black neighborhood and the white neighborhood. If you want to see segregation, I don't care what they talk. No, man, I go to a church where we're multicultural. If you want to go and see racism, white supremacy at its best, right? If you want to see what it does to divide, go look for church services on Sunday. I promise you, you're going to find it. I promise you. But it gets even deeper. Because if you look deeper into it, you'll find the black church against the black church. You'll find that there's a light-skinned church. You'll find that there's a dark-skinned church. I know people be thinking I'm making stuff up. There's tons of studies on this, right? You can look for it yourself. There's just, seriously, straight up, if you think about your own experience, right? There's your family's church, and nobody else can come in except for a couple people, maybe the pastor and other people get to be grafted into your family's church, but y'all black together, and y'all ignore all the other blacks. This is stuff that is studied, documented, right? Like we're keeping up the standard. We fight for the Cesare Borgia picture, that white Jesus picture, that be in that. We fight for that picture more than white folk do. We just now started copying off of them to put globes and stuff like that spinning in our churches. Before that, we was fighting to make sure that we kept Cesare Borgia up there. Right? Florida Evans wasn't the only black woman back in the day slapping their children because they wanted to send oppression to the white. There you go. We did the other stuff. Come on, we coaching, holiness, Baptist, apostolic, Southern Baptist, Free Will Baptist, Missionary Baptist. How you doing, Brother Jacob? Well, we're the church that allows white people to. We're the church that allows Spanish people. We're the church that allows black folk. We're the church. We're the black woman church. We're the black man church. SDA, we the AME. And non-denominational is crazy because all the non-denominations just become denominations. You know, every single denomination started off as a non-denominational church. You know that, right? Every single one, right? But we do this thing where we pit men versus women. We do this thing where it's man versus woman. Some churches, women better not preach. Some churches, you know what, all the preachers are women and all the deacons are men. But if you want to see one of the most Willie Lynch places on the planet, look up your church service. It's coming up on Sunday. If you missed it this Sunday, I promise you, if you look around and you look at other places, it's a separation. Because they're not trying to make a nation. They're just trying to have church on Sunday. We got to have church. What church? For who? For the light skin? For the dark skin? I'm not saying that there can't be, once again, an exception, but I'm learning in life to trust the history, if you will, right? The history, not the anomaly. Yeah, there's times where racism and white supremacy is very hard to find, but that's the anomaly. I told you it's going to get uncomfortable, right? But that's part of what was done because the attack is really on the Negro. And I try to tell persons even this, when we go back to the spiritual side, if we may, real quick, just to make the foundation more concrete. Every head of that serpent, those 7 heads, Kemet, Assyria, Babylon, Middle Persian, Greeks, Romans, Christians, every single one of them enslaved Israel. So it's about us. It's still an attack on us. See, that's why, watch this. Remember we were talking about Israel, today we're talking about Israel as a wife. Why do you think black women are so attacked? Because who is she supposed to represent? I feel like that need. Right? Who is Israel supposed? Who is the wife supposed to be? Who's supposed to represent Israel? So why do you think she's under such attack? Why do you think what comes out of her womb is under such attack? See, the husband represents Yah, Israel represents, and the two are supposed to be married and act together as one. Genesis 28, Israel is where heaven meets earth. Why do you think you're so attacked, Negro? Why do you think you're so attacked, black man, black woman? Why do you think you're so attacked, what's the word, Niger, or ninja, or, right? Or Niger, Nigeria, Igbo, Ivrit, Avra, Hebrew, Ebra. Why do you think you're so attacked? Because you're supposed to represent. Why are copper-colored persons? The original Americans, that's Native Americans, which are some of us as well. The original Americans, why are you so attacked? Did you forget the word American means copper-colored person, indigenous to the Americans? Did you forget that Christopher Columbus came over looking for the land of Azeroth based on the second Esdras, chapter 13, verses 40 through 46? Did you forget that when they came over, they brought a Hebrew interpreter, and the Hebrew interpreter told them and showed them that they had basically been having access with Hebrews and Israelites and had an Israelite faith that went back to them having the same weapons, and they've been doing so, and they were able to verify by taking the weapons and seeing that the same metallurgy that was done in what we now call today, well, not Hispaniola, but call it Haiti and Dominican, that they were, and Cuba even, they were using the same metallurgy from the West African Hebrews that were over there. Have you forgotten? Have you forgotten that not only that the Tisanagi, their original name, Anakitawaya, who you call Cherokee to this day, the original Anakitawaya, their name literally means the people of Yah, that their cousins, the Choctaw people, their original name means the people of the earth. How you doing, Sister Luana? See, the attack is on Israel, whether it's been Kemet, because Kemet looks like us. Remember, Kemet looked so much like us that Moses was hidden there, that Christ was hidden there, that Joseph was there, had children, and his brothers couldn't pick out him from them, even though they thought about him every day. This isn't somebody, they just forgot about, they thought he was blind. Yeah, they thought he was dead. He was on their mind. He was in their dreams every day, and they saw him and was like, oh, that's a Kemet. We know what they look like, but they still enslaved Israel. We know what the Assyrians look like. They still enslaved Israel. We know what the Babylonians look like, right? The original Iraqi. By the way, if you don't know who I'm talking about, for those of you who are into hip hop, your boy Slick Rick, Lottie Dottie, we like party. We don't cause trouble. We don't bother nobody, right? Mr. Lottie Dottie himself, or my man who did, rhyme with Mos Def, right? Da da da. Ba-da-da-da-da. Y'all, some of y'all know about that. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba, ba-ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Him. The same one, right? The same Slick Rick, same Slick Rick that was there with Montel Jordan, eye patch, all that. He's Iraqi. He's Babylonian. Y'all don't even know that, do you? Some of y'all might not know that he's a Babylonian. He looked like you so much you wouldn't even see it. Now that I said it, some of y'all might be able to be like, oh, yeah, he look a little different. He Babylonian. That's what the Babylonians look like. He's original. Today 8 years old, there you go. He's Babylonian. Slick Rick, right from New York. Matter of fact, in the song with Mos Def that I was mentioning, if you listen to the lyrics, he talks about being an Iraqi boy and trying to make his way through Brooklyn. Trying to make his way, actually, I don't know if it was Brooklyn, trying to make himself into whatever borough he was from. I don't know for sure. To be honest, I don't want to put him in the wrong borough. Right? But I'm saying, right, you don't think of it, but those people enslaved you. Right? The Medes and the Persians, guess what they look like? They look like you. Guess who the Greeks look like? I know you think there's pictures of Alexander the Great that you will see looking swarthy. You know why? Because his father was swarthy. So at least he had to look somewhat swarthy because his father was. But we have pictures of him where he's dark, where he's brown. Right? On pottery. Leonidas, King Leonidas, he had locks. He was swarthy. Don't get caught up on the movie. He was swarthy. He had locks. Right? That's why you're getting into nationality. Just because they were dark, just because it was black, doesn't mean that they were righteous. Right? That's why not all skin folk is kinfolk. That's why Officer Tatum is doing that foolishness and trying to get persons that are so-called mixed and white to try and say, hey, Nolan Wells couldn't have been killed. Even though we got the recording to be able to hear it for ourselves, and during the beginning of the recording, before they even introduced a lot of it to you all, if you listen to the full recording, AI started recording this stuff before the conversation with the woman, and AI already, you can hear them talking about he's dead. Starts off in the background. You hear him say, he's dead. Really? Is he dead? Yeah, he's dead. It's an attack on anything with Negroid features because the Negro, the Israelite, is the enemy of the world. So he gets us to be against each other. But once again, Israel in our marriages is looked at through the prism of what? Of the wife. The wife represents Israel. The wife, when you're born, who are you born into? Right? Your father might plant the seed, he might plant the word, but the mother is the one who allows the seed to multiply. Adam couldn't multiply until Isaac was there. He was commanded to multiply, but could not follow the command until he got in his work, realized the necessity of everybody else having a helpmeet to help them to multiply amongst many other things, and said, I need that in my life, came into agreement with what Yah had said, then was put to sleep that he might be able to wake up and see what he needed in his life to help him to become multiplied from him. The only thing to come out of the womb, if you will, you don't have a womb per se, but the only thing to come out of us, then to grow into a human being, is Isaac, is help me. And once helpmeet was there, we always wanted to become one with her, so we might be able to manifest, to multiply, and to be in Yah's will and expand kingdom territory. But what's the thing that they did in Willie Lynch? What's the thing they do through Deuteronomy 28? What's the thing they're still doing through the serpent? What's the thing they're still doing through Christianity? What's the thing that they're still doing through romanticism? What's the thing they're still doing with Greco-Roman thought process and theology, right? Through Christianity. What are they doing? They are doing their best to continue to have the men versus the women. The male versus the female. You'll hear preachers preaching about how women ain't nothing now, and preachers preaching about how men ain't nothing, rather than preaching about how we need to be holistic as families and do so for the reason of our nation. Hashtag we be the nation. We need families and we need husbands and wives that are strong. Not just strong, we need to be strong. Be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. But every single one of them enslave you. And brothers, you got to realize this. That means every single one of them enslave your woman. Remember, we talked about the matrix. That word matrix is mentioned in Exodus. That word matrix is talking about the womb. The matrix is the womb. That's why Keanu Reeves looked the way that he did coming out the womb. He was coming out of the womb. That's why he had the pink slime. That's why he had the stuff connected. That's why there was something, there was even in his belly button. Right? You were paying attention just to the stuff that was coming out of his nipple area, coming out of his back, coming out of it, but coming out of his womb. Coming out of his, he was coming out of the womb and coming out of the stuff. You get fed through here. He was still a baby. He was still a baby. He was still connected. He had to be born again. They had to take him, separate him, get him away, and then go through the process of him basically going through the gestational period. And finally, when he could actually be born to walk around, for the first time, they said he was using his eyes. For the first time, he was using his legs. For the first time, he was using his ears. Everything was coming through what? Coming through the information that was given from the matrix. Matrix means womb. So don't get caught up on the movie only. Some of y'all caught up on the movie only and thinking that the matrix is the system. The matrix is not the system. The matrix is the womb. The womb is the womb that taught everything. So you were taught the world, you were taught the system because of the womb, man, the woman that you were in. That woman is the wife of the devil. See, the world is the wife of the devil, but Israel is the wife of the Most High. That's why your Bible tells you, is it 2 Esdras 9:6? Somebody check me, sometimes I reverse those numbers, but I think it's 2 Esdras 9 verse 6, that says that Israel is the beginning, Esau is the end of the world, but Israel is the beginning of everything else. If you're married to Esau, and I'm not just talking about black-white, because Esau isn't as simple as black versus white. Esau representing the world or a separate system. So if you're going to be married into the devil, right, with the devil, lay down in the bed, lay down with that Jezebel spirit, lay down with that whore of Babylon, then be ready to get what happens, the connection, because you're connected to the person, you're going to reap the rewards of the person that you connected with, right? You're one with. But if you're going to be with the Most High, be ready to reap the rewards of what happens to being connected to the Most High. Right? So, and remember, Exodus. In Exodus, it said that Kemet was trying that Inyatur, that Pharaoh, the Paro, that Pharaoh was trying, that was basically trying to get women of Israel, who were, who were the women who helped with birth, doulas, right? Who were helping through the process and everything. They tried to get them to at the birthing stool, because our women didn't lay on the back, so women squatted down to give birth. And it said that Pharaoh tried to get them to mess with the matrix. That means to kill what was coming out of the womb. That before they had it, right, to kill what comes out the womb. That is the desire of the enemy, is to off Israel, or to have Israel in such control, or have you spiritually dead, right? This is why Israel leads the charge on everything, including unrighteousness. We shouldn't be. It's not biblical to. I'm telling you what is happening, right? See, we don't like it. Now look, technically they're not of our nation because of the spirit. They're not following the spirit. They're not following the law. So it's not only physical, right? But hear what I'm saying. Hear what I'm saying. Cardi B is leading the charge. This is who leads the charge for our women. I'm going to talk about the men too. But this is who leads the charge for our women. Cardi B. She's Israel. Do you want your daughter to be Cardi B? Some of y'all will be, just because she's black, just because she Israel, just because she's Negro, she can do whatever she wants. Yes, slay queen. No. She's slaying a bunch of our children. She's taking care of hers. She's actually telling her children not to watch her stuff, but she's making money because your daughters are supporting, and you're supporting, and your baby daddy, and your husband, and all these people, your boyfriend, etc., are trying to support. And she don't even want that in her house. Sukihana. No. But Sukihana too. She crazy. Right? If you even know who that is. I just know her by name. I don't even know her face. I think I might know her face. It's Sukihana. Right? Out there saying freaky, crazy stuff like that. Taking what Foxy Brown did and taking the 7,000 times back. Right? Not just talking about Foxy Brown, the one that was in the movies who was doing crazy, freaky stuff, but the Foxy Brown that was the rapper, right? And Lil Kim and all them. Sukihana had taken that 7,000 times, even past what Nicki Minaj was doing. Right? And when you see them talking about the stuff that they're doing or whatever, right, is that they're Israel. See, if the enemy's either going to try to take our children out, or they're going to turn them into examples, and other Israelites are going to follow them just because, oh, we black, they black. No. Oh, see, somebody made it out the hood. Okay, the only way, and think about this, what they've taught us over time, the only thing that they support, the only thing they show us, the people making it out the hood, is you better be great at sports. You better be able to make it in music, as well as a man. You're saying it's about money, power, and respect. It basically means treating women disrespectfully, right? Not helping the community out, and being a gangster. Right? If you're a woman, it's a lot like, not helping your community out, being known as somebody that's a woman who's in touch with her sexuality, and so that they can keep telling you this lie that the oldest job and the oldest occupation that's ever existed is women who sell their bodies. As if there was no such thing as farmers, because there was no such thing as husbands, as wives, there was no such thing as persons who watched children, there was no such thing as hunters, there was no such thing as cooks. No, the first thing that ever existed that somebody wanted to do was sell their body for sex. That's what they teach. And they run Israelites, right? They're going to put Meg Thee Stallion in front of Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, who, yes, she went to an HBCU. But Kamala Harris doesn't even like to hang out with you. Look at a picture of Kamala, and I'm not just talking about because she's married to a white man. I'm talking about the people who are at her house and who are there as she has black servants serving her family, and she has no children herself. Look at Kamala Harris' house when they have these get-togethers and gatherings. Look at the pictures, and it'll be black persons who basically look like mammoths all over the place, right? Black servants, and it'll be white people who are in the house, and that's it. There's going to be an Israelite woman who they're going to pull to the forefront, and they're going to have another Israelite woman, Meg Thee Stallion, right, get up there and start making it clap in a woman's suit. in a woman's pantsuit. She wearing the Hillary Clinton pantsuit and making it clap. Like Sean Paul is saying, and telling you that that's the direction that your people need to go in, and others who look for a direction from us will say, "Oh yeah, well if they support it, we'll support it." It sounds cool when they do it, and it's one of the wild. Like I remember, like people were saying that happened. I remember for like 2 days not watching it because I was like, I don't know if I'm prepared. I was like in my mind, in my head, there's no way this could have actually happened. Like no way that and look, I understand it's wickedness, it's voting, it's democracy, this stuff is wild. But I was just like, there's no way that say whatever you want about Kamala. I'm gonna call her this because I'm not somebody who's into demolishing our women, right? If you think she's not, so be it. I'm gonna respect it because I'm the type of person where people use that against our women, just like they try to use Michelle. They try to say Michelle was a man and blah blah. Look, at the end of the day, till you show me proof or evidence of something, I'm gonna respect them because hey, we need to do this more for our community, right? If you believe something different, it is what it is. But Kamala, even though she was black, as far as skin tone, whatever you want to talk about, Negro, Israelite, right? Yeah, her mama was Indian, but her daddy was black, and he's black enough. But even Indians, if you do the research, they're us. We're the same people. That being, like, they don't like us because they don't like themselves. That being said, right? She went to HBCU, great, and then she goes there, and we just go, oh, because she went to HBCU, she loves her people, right? But so we got this black woman, she loves her people, but they put her there what? To continue what Joe Biden did. Joe Biden is one of the most racist people that ever exist. Jill Biden, one of the most racist people that ever exist. If it wasn't for Joe Biden's help, you don't get super predators. What are we talking about? Seriously. If it wasn't for Joe Biden's help, we don't even get super predators. They have us against each other like that. And then when Megan Stein did that and men came out, now some men granted, super red pill, saying some craziness. However, there were a lot of men and women, to be fair, that made a solid point that was like, maybe it's not the best look that black woman is trying to become president. But we got Megan Stein, a black woman, to come out there and start making the clap with other black women as background dancers, hypersexualizing them. Maybe that's not what we should be going towards. And persons who disagreed with it, including President Barack Obama, came out and said, I got a problem with all you black men are just doing that because you hate black women. Why you hate black women? Well, because we saw making it clap and said that's not the best thing. Look, there's a time to get on the dance floor and make it clap, I guess. There's a time that you can make it clap for your husband, I guess. That's whatever, that's something different. But you representing a whole people, at least that's what you say, and you represented, and your representation of them was to have Megan Stein, of all people, come up to support what you said was supposed to be the first black woman to become president. Obama, as much stuff as you did, you understood that as a black man, right, that you could never, even though you're not even with us, you understood that you could never get up there and ever do anything crazy. You was never going to get up there and do the stanky leg, get up there and Tootsie Roll, right? You didn't do that because black men hated you or black women hated you. You did that because you had to have a standard that was higher. But they turn us against each other, right? Now watch this. So I got to finish up. So let's make a slave. Let's make a slave. This is what Willie Lynch said. We're going to make a slave here. You ready? And thank you again, Sister Shirley. Right? Watch this. Let's make a slave. So let us make a slave. What do we need? He about to give you the game. If we're going to have you enslaved, we got to attack marriage. He may get to the point to tell you, we got to turn the male against the female. We have to get them out of their natural state. I'm just going to read. You ready? Let us make a slave. What do we need? First of all, all right. I'm going to say it. In certain circles and certain teachers, and maybe when we do this offline or we do this for SEC University or something, we'll go line upon line, precept upon precept. We'll actually use the language he's using, because some of y'all need to hear it with the language you're using so you can hear how much vitriol is against you. All right? But let's just do this. Let us make a slave. I'll say ninja, right? I'm saying ninja, but you know it means something else. All right? Let us make a slave. What do we need? First of all, we need a black ninja man and a pregnant ninja woman and her baby ninja boy. This is threefold. He said we need a ninja man, then we need a pregnant ninja woman, and then we need a little ninja boy. Ooh. All right? Yeah, they use the hard R. I'm gonna be nice, because some of y'all would just turn off completely if I started saying, and I'd probably get in trouble. So Holy Spirit, thank you for that. All right, but so what's the second? We will use the same basic principle that we use in breaking a horse. This is how we make a slave. How we make it what? What are we making? Slave. How do you make a slave? We got to attack the husband, the wife, and the offspring. He said, how are we going to attack them? How are we going to get them to be enslaved? He said, we're going to use the same technique that we use to break what? Horses. There's a movie, now this is real musty reference, and I don't even think this movie was like made that much money or whatever. But there's an old cartoon, I believe it's from the 80s, at least if you listen to the soundtrack, it sounds 80s rock is I don't know what. Right? How you know, Sister Deborah, if I didn't say so already. And in this movie, right? They had the name of the movie, I believe, is called Spirit. Anybody recall? If not, go watch the movie. Seriously, it's actually like a decent movie. Like it's gonna be 80s rock music. After a while, though, you know, like it's pretty decent 80s rock music. Like it's not quite Journey, you know, it's in that vein. Like it's not quite hitting like Journey be hitting, but you know, it's nice, right? But if you go watch that movie, it's called Spirit, right? Watch it with your baby. Matter of fact, watch it with your baby boys because it's about the pride that a male has in making sure that he keeps his culture and make sure that he takes care of his family, right? It's coming through a horse's perspective, but it's interesting somebody snuck that in there and used that because you need to know that's how they broke down their slaves. A lot of persons don't catch that. That's a little something somebody threw in there real quick. And I don't know, I'm pretty sure it wasn't that popular. I don't know how much money it made, but it's called Spirit. It's been a little while. I think I watched it with my son. I need to watch it with him again now he's older. Right, but it's called Spirit. It's got a lot of 80s music and stuff. If you get past like the first 15 minutes, it's very beautifully drawn too. Like it looks like you outside like in nature. It looks very amazing in the nature of, you know, America before America started looking like shopping malls. Like it looks really, really great. Somebody did a lot of great research. But anyways, when you go through the movie, you'll discover that Spirit is this horse, and basically he's a horse that can't be broken. They try to break him down. Right, and ultimately he gets so tired one time that they actually get him to be broken down, and he has to serve, but eventually he's able to get free, right? And one of the things that even caused him to not go free is that they actually got him to like a female horse that was actually indoctrinated and was under rule. And so when he could have got free, he tried to get her to leave, but she won't leave. So since she won't leave, he won't leave. It's interesting how they did the dynamic, right? To where the reversing of this stuff. So I promise you, if you want, matter of fact, I know it's been a long time. We need to have a watch party at some point. Maybe we can try and find a time during the week, and the babies are out of school, so they can watch during the week. So maybe we can try and find a time during this week. I can't promise a specific time right now, but maybe we can find a time to try and do a watch party, and we'll watch it. Seriously. If you watch it, it's great, but you say, oh Lord, yeah, no problem. The Lord is the Lord, whether you say oh in front of him or not. And the truth is the truth. but welcome, I guess, if that's your way of saying hello. So anyways, right? And once again, this might not be for you because I'm literally just telling you historical fact. So, you know, a lot of people can't take that. But if you're talking about let's make a slave, that's what William Lynch preached, December 25th, 1712. So this is George Washington's people that are living in Virginia. This is Thomas Jefferson's people that are living in Virginia. This is Madison's people. This is Monroe's people. This is, I'm forgetting his name. Well, it wasn't him to come to Virginia for college, but he's not from here. He's Tennessee. The seventh president. I'm forgetting his name. Jackson, Andrew Jackson. You know, this is Polk. This is Taylor. No, Taylor's Texas. Whatever. A whole bunch of them Virginia presidents that were slave owners. Right. Their families were there at this sermon. Right. William Lynch invited from the West Indies to come over to Virginia goes down the Jamestown River. He realizes that he smells a bunch of dead bodies, a bunch of dead slave bodies, and he sees them, and then he starts to say, oh, I know what's going on here. You guys don't know how to keep them in line. You're afraid that they're going to come and they're going to overtake you because you're having all these slaves that are coming against you and fighting for their freedom. So he says, what I'll do is I'll teach you how to have them in control so you can gain your sleep and you can control them in the mind and you can reverse their nature. And then once you reverse the nature of the husband and wife, then it's easy to make slaves out of anybody. Right? So he says, let's make a slave. What do we need? First of all, we need a black ninja man. And they're using better language than this because they would have said a black ninja male. That's the original. A black ninja male, a pregnant ninja female, and her baby ninja. Right? Second, we will use the same principle that we use in breaking a horse, combined with some sustaining factors. What do we do with horses? Is that we break them from one form of life to another. This is what he said. He said, what do we do with horses? This is what we're doing to the ninja. This is what we're doing to the Negro. This is what we're doing to the Israelite. This is what we're doing to the person we're enslaving. This is what we would do with horses. If we want horses to fall in line, you have to reverse the order of the horse, of the pregnant horse, and of the baby horse. If you can get all three of them to get jacked up and have something traumatic happen, you will enslave them forever, or as long as you can. Because remember, he said, if we do this, if we keep this going, right, just for one generation, we get the first generation to fall in line with this, he said they'll do this to themselves at least hundreds of years, if not thousands. And he said, we're doing this what? For economics. He said, the reason why you got to learn how to not kill these persons but keep them alive is because it represents good economics. You're not going to make money if these persons who are around are not there to do your work for you. All right. So he says once again, he says, we're going to do what we do with a horse, a principle used to break a horse, combined with more sustaining factors. What we do with horses is that we break them from one form of life to another. That is, we reduce them from their natural state in nature. He said we reduce them. Their natural state has them up here. So your natural affection, the Bible talks about we are people without natural affection. Your natural affection brings you up here. Following Yah's will brings you up here. Having strong marriages brings you up here. But he says what we're going to do is we're going to break you away from your natural state in nature. Whereas nature, so in other words, if you found Negroes, if you found Israelites, if you found persons who follow Torah, if you found our nation in their nature, and thank you for the love, babe, sorry. If you find them in their nature, this is what it looks like. He says, whereas nature provides them with the natural capacity to take care of their offspring, we break that natural spring of independence from them and thereby create a dependency status. A what status? What's on your taxes that you love to get paid for? A dependency status. I'm going to try to finish by 11, but we might have to go 15 minutes over today. Right? Just giving you a heads up. Right? He said we're going to break you away from what? He said we want to break you away from an independent from what, by the way? Independent from whom, by the way? If you're independent, who are you independent of? No, we need to be integrated. No, who are you supposed to be independent of? You're supposed to be in something, but not of it. Who are you supposed to be independent of? He said, no, we take you from being an independent nation, from having an independent marriage, from having a private marriage, to doing what? To going into a dependency status. Who are we talking about? Israel? Has this happened to you? Is this still happening to you? Are you still trying to fight this off? Are some of you still trying to figure out how to defend it? Who are we talking about? Is this truth? Is this real? Is it real, Israel? Or are we just making stuff up? He said, our goal is to take them out of their natural state in nature. In nature, he said, nature itself provides. He said, nature, if their natural state, if they were in nature, if they, as the young folks say nowadays, if they touched earth, if they touched grass, if we went back to a natural state in nature, nature itself provides a way for us to do what? What does it say again? I'm gonna make sure I say exactly what he said it. A natural capacity to take care of our offspring. It provides us a natural capacity in our nature, independent of this false artificial stuff that you call a country. That's not even a country, but a corporation. He said, in our nature of independence, independent or separate or private from this estate, from this establishment that's been set up. He said, it's in our nature to take care of our offspring. Because by the way, if husbands and wives are fighting against each other, then who are we not going to take care of properly? You think baby boy, the baby ninja, as he said, you think baby ninja going to be taken care of if the ninja male and the ninja female hate each other? You think your child's going to grow up healthy? You think your child's going to grow up healthy if he's a good for nothing ninja and if she ain't nothing but a ninja bee? That stuff, we say crazy stuff to each other. And our children watch it. And then you think they're going to grow up and want to take care of husbands and wives the way they're supposed to? He said we studied them and realized that the same way that the stallion is stronger and faster and can do things that is more in their nature, but the stallion, if he can be broken, then everything can be broken. He said, we've studied your husbands, we've studied males, we've studied the N-word male, we've studied the N-word female, we've studied the N-word baby. We understand that if we break them, all we got to do is reverse their nature. Willie Lynch, matter of fact, has already done this. He's simply coming to show others how to do it. They were having too many, go research, go study your history. They were having too many slave revolts. There were too many Israelites, literally, too many Israelites finding actual Bibles, going away from slave Bibles, seeing that they should be like Moses and leaving and fighting. There was too much of it. You got to know your history. You got to know your story. There were too many persons that were being like, yo, we have a history that's stronger than this. There were persons who were using their own language against each other. So we started saying, we got to have people go against each other to the point to where they won't even want to use their original languages because they'll think that black languages, anything black, anything dark, that's part of colorism, by the way, if you don't know. That's part of ageism, by the way. The more ancient somebody can speak, the worse that they are. The closer they are to Africa, the more they scratch their booty, right? African booty scratching, y'all recall that? That's right, they invited Willie Lynch down there. Willie Lynch had peoples down there. That's why they have a place there still to this day called Lynchburg. That's where the Lynches lived. It's not just because they lynch people, no. There was a place called Lynchburg because that's the family owns that city. Willie Lynch just came to family to tell them how to make sure that they were making slave money the way he was making slave money. That was a favor to his family. So they could serve the same Jesus that allows for them to enslave us. That's what he did. Right? So, but he tells them, he says, hey, we're doing this and we're taking away their independency because they'll be independent from us if they depend on each other. My brother, my sister, I'm telling you the game. Right? And a lot of persons want to get away from it. And they make it real hard to find us now, even though persons are still finding us by the grace of Yah, even if they got to do stuff, even when they're trying to tell us these numbers are worse and blah, blah, and we're still getting the same amount of persons that are reaching out. So I praise Yah for you. We're still pushing. We're still moving. Hear what I'm saying, beloved? They're trying to get us to really, like, I'm telling you, like, we turning up the volume and they trying to best to turn it down. I'm telling you, beloved, they are trying to get you and I to be against each other. They want the husband versus the wife. They want the male versus the female because they understand if you ever come back together, it's game over. The dependency status. Do you know in Georgia, in the state of Georgia, that a man, what is it called? A man who has a child out of wedlock has no, I forget what it's called, man. He has no rights to the child. What is it called? You have to go into court, even if your child lives with you. As far as the state of Georgia is concerned, you have no rights to the child. Even if there's a DNA test and it says it's your baby, you still have no right to the child, right? Except you have to, I forget what the term is called. Thank you, legitimization. There you go. Sister Erica does that. She know what I'm talking about. Legitimization. You got to go and ask permission to be legitimate for your own baby. The baby's legitimate because they need to make money off of it. They'll take money from you even though they say you're not legitimate, right? And they say you have no rights to it. They'll say that you have no rights to it even if you feed, clothe, to the baby, to them. Even if you feed, clothe, and shelter, right? They'll even say, even if it's baby mama drama, but you and the baby mama are trying to figure out how to make it work together. Even if you're trying to have a relationship, you just don't live with each other, right? And even if the baby mama wants to, she can't go and legitimize it. You have to go and legitimize it, and ultimately become a slave to the system. You had to go through that, so there you go. You know better than I, right? These are things that are still happening, where they are making our fathers illegitimate just because they're our fathers. Israel, sisters, wives, I'm trying to tell you. Husbands, those who represent Yah, who's supposed to be representatives of his and making sure they're taking care of his daughters. I'm trying to tell you. Right? This is something done on purpose. This is spiritual warfare. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. All right, big game, big game. So they do this to take away our independence and to give us a dependency status. A dependency status. And then what? So that we may be able to get from them useful production for our business and pleasure. So we want to get production from them for our business and pleasure. It's not enough that we get production from them. The production is for our business, right? We need time, we need good economics, but then it's also for what? And our pleasure. Now Yah says it's his great pleasure to make sure he takes care of you. They say you are only supposed to be here to take care of them. That sounds like Yah, that sounds like the devil. Now, once again, some of y'all getting caught up and thinking I'm only talking about white. I'm using racism and white supremacy, but I already told you this is something that happened in the Kemet, Babylon, Medes and the Persians, Greece, Romans. It's happening now in the Christianity, and it happened to the Assyrians. It's happened to us because of who we are. Not only our skin color, but somebody's getting demonic, getting the same demonic result by getting you and I to fight over the skin color still. Right? And rather than telling white folk, so-called white folk, especially the racist white folk, how you doing, Jose? Instead of going out on a limb and making sure they understand, we don't care what you call us and we're not going to be affected. How about this? Start making sure that you recognize who you are. And if you're affected, be affected in the manner that you say, I'm going to separate from any system that has me have to live with that and tell me that that's somebody's constitutional right. Persons are fighting as a constitutional right. Y'all remember that girl? I don't know her name, but the girl who called that autistic black baby on that playground the N-word and doubled down on it, and the father recorded it, and then he went and everybody saw it when he put it on, and all these persons came out the woodwork to support her, and they raised something like, what was it, $800-something thousand, right? She basically became a millionaire overnight. And then also, but if you notice, they did like a little civil court recently, or a court thing, said, and they're gonna try to get more from her. She didn't get any time. They suspended giving her time, and I think they're gonna make her do a bunch of community service. But ultimately, she still made $800-something thousand off because persons were like, we gotta support our First Amendment rights. When your First Amendment rights have just become the right to be able to call somebody the N-word, we gotta separate from that system. Yeah, like we trying our best. We still gonna go to the same places. We're gonna see. Why would I look? And if you so-called white, but you rolling with me and fighting against racism and white supremacy, then we cool in what I'm about to say. If you're somebody that's supporting it, though, I'm fitting to let you know. Why do I need to keep going into your establishments that hard? Why should I try my hardest? Why should I try my hardest to support your business over my business, and you guys are fighting to make sure that you call me a ninja? Right, verbal assault is a charge, right? And they charge it. They don't mind charging it. You know what I'm saying? They charge it, as Fuhad and James would say. They right? You know what I'm saying? Like, if why am I fighting so hard? So you gotta recognize, right? Yeah, we gotta do what we gotta do for now, but the goal is to not have to deal with this at all. Be in the world, be in the system, but not of it. Why are we working so diligently to try and remain in this foolishness? Real talk, like why are we putting so much effort and energy trying to like? And these cats is out here literally calling us out our name, defaming our women, R-wording our women, hanging our men and women from trees, putting our children in water, giving the wrong coordinates, lying and saying that everybody's his best friend. Meanwhile, you know, like we got on wax, on recording, y'all said that the dude was dead, but y'all said he wasn't with you. He went back, but y'all said that, or that y'all wanted him to come back with you or whatever, and y'all said y'all wasn't even with him. But we got y'all voices on recording and people saying he's dead, saying, "Oh, we need to stop Asian hate." We do. But then when somebody says stop hate against our people, you don't mind it when the same people that we said we got to protect, they run our people down and off them and then lie and say that he had a gun. And I don't care if he had a gun in the Facebook post or what. I don't even care if he had a gun in the bag. I don't care if the gun fell out on the ground. If he never pointed the gun at you and you ever knew that he had it because it was in his bag, then you had no right to defend yourself because you weren't defended. And stand your ground doesn't mean chase somebody for 15 miles or whatever it was for a while, chase them down and then blast them. It means no, if they in your area, your space, or on your land, that you do it. But they don't do that for us. Why? Because this is something that's an attack on the Negro. It's not and it's an attack on the Negro because of who you actually are. You keep forgetting that you are the nation of Israel. You said that happened down the street? That was your little cousin? Sorry to hear about that. A lot of persons here. In my family, we had that water piece with Nolan. It's different from my family because in my family, there's a cousin that didn't make it past a certain age because that exact thing basically happened to him. Almost to the letter. Just so happened to be in a different. Actually, I don't know what state was Nolan in. Right, but it happened. It happened to our family. It cuts deep. When I talk about it, I think about those who I'm married into and their experience. It's something that hit. We have family members that didn't make it past a certain age. It's expected. It's Nolan's in Mississippi. Okay, thank you. So really not that far, to be honest. Actually, from where it happened to the person that was in line. But I'm just saying, we're raised. I told a person this, even though I wasn't really in the hood or nothing like that. I was hood adjacent. I was never really hood. But I hung out with cats and stuff. We didn't think that we were going to make it to 21. I got in the military at 17, still didn't think I was going to make it to 21. I hit 21, and I was like, dang, what am I supposed to do? You hit your 21st born day, they say you're supposed to celebrate, get drunk, okay. After that, what? Because we don't have no vision past that because we live in a society that says we're supposed to be taken out. But we don't realize it's because the society is satanic, and the Satan wants you taken out because of who you are. Okay, my wife, I didn't want to say for sure who it was. Yeah, I think she talked about it before, but I didn't just assume. But Gulf Coast, yeah, her cousin was in Florida. And we went swimming with friends, same thing. And kind of the same thing too. Girl likes him, is involved somehow, some way, right? Everybody's supposed to be his friends. He had stuff, he had like money and stuff on, just like Nolan. She's like had money on him. There seems to be some kind of scuffle. People are like, maybe he didn't know how to swim, and the reality is like they know how to swim. All this stuff, very similar things that happen. With my wife's cousin, who ultimately by marriage is my cousin. Even though I never had the pleasure of meeting him, right? But see, when we fighting, when we talking about this stuff, person say, just forget that, just ignore that, blah blah. And we keep it a buck, man. Like that's who I'm fighting for. I'm fighting for Nolan, fighting for our brothers and sisters. I'm fighting for the ones that are alive. And by the way, can I say this too? Willie Lynch has it to where we'll fight for dead persons more than we'll fight for live persons. Hey, there are still brothers that are alive. There's still 14-year-old boys that are alive. There's still preteen boys that are alive. There's still men that are alive. There's still women that are alive that persons are trying to do this to. Hey, please, ma'am, please, sir, don't forget the ones that are still living. Please don't forget the experience. My wife will tell you, we had police officers recently. I think she told some of the sisters this recently. I wasn't on the meeting, but I think she told me, she said that when we were having a conversation about something else, she mentioned it, that basically we got pulled over by a police officer. Police officer was like, oh yeah, or no, maybe it was when we just did the marital session on Thursday, right? But it was something, but I think she mentioned it there as well, if not there exclusively. Anyways, how we riding, police officer pulls us over, and he's like, I pulled you over because you were so close to a green car or a blue car or something like that in front of us. And while I was tired, And there could have been a possibility I was doing a little bit, not swerving, but you get tired in the RV, you ain't got that much space. So if I'm moving a little bit, I could see maybe, I don't recall it, but maybe I was doing a little bit of this. Where I had a little issue going on, I was literally having to reach outside the camper and trying to get some stuff together to like reel it in before I could fix it, and then we stopped. So maybe I was doing it every time, there's a little bit of this happening, right? But he's like, no, I've been following you. You didn't see me and that, and you had this car in front of you, and we're like, no. But every time that happens, right? Anytime a police officer comes, anytime there's certain things where even though I'm trying to be strong, I'm trying to be this, I'm just being honest with you because there was somebody who, especially somebody who used to call the police on me all the time, where I lived, right? Around some people I live with, and then even did some stuff that basically put me in prison. Even though I wasn't even guilty of anything, and even though the grand jury had all the people coming for him, had all this evidence against it, they said no, and the city of DC was trying to get a pastor that was going to be, on TV and on this, so they kept trying to like get this thing to happen. So I had to go through 8 months of going through all their foolishness for right to a speedy trial. And only a little bit of time, only like a couple weeks in the actual prison. But still, it was basically going in and out of the facilities, was getting checked, had the ankle bracelet, doing this, was afraid of any last move that I made, trying to get a job so I at least could get out the house because I'm not allowed to leave a room in the house. Like all this stuff that's going on. And all that stuff or whatever. And so from that point on, even before then, but definitely since that point on, I still have this thing in me where if I see cops riding on the street, if I see one that's walking up on me, I do everything in my power to not lose the power of Christ that I have. And can I keep it a buck with you? I'm gonna just keep it a buck. I get emotional. I get scared a little bit because I know that the system is set up. Especially I'm 6'5" and a half. I'm walking around with locks. There's a lot of them in the area who know who I am. There's persons when we go to certain places, I see the same police officers pull up. They follow me. I'm just being honest. Like I get scared. I get worried. Like I become a different person. I know I cower. I'm trying not to be. I'm just being honest. I get scared. My son knew it. What was it, babe? I think he was 2-3 years old. No, maybe like 4 or 5. But he knew one of the time. How old? Maybe he was 4 or 5, right? 6 at the oldest. But he knew at a young age to be afraid of police officers. And nobody ever had that conversation with him. He just knows. Right? Our boys walk around like that. Our girls do as well. Right? They'll Sandra Bland you too. Yeah, right? They'll Sandra Bland us. I ain't forgetting y'all sisters. I'm just telling you from my personal experience. That's why I'm mentioning that, right? And how you doing, Sister Tanya? But I get scared. Can I keep it a buck? And I told you we're gonna go a little bit over today. Right? I told you we're going to be short tomorrow anyways, so make it up to you tomorrow. Right? Hopefully I'll still come on tomorrow at noon to make sure you support Elder Alma and Sister Rose. Right? But I'm just saying, my little boy, nobody had to talk to him. I kept thinking, when do I talk to him? Because I'm thinking, as a black man, you looked at as a black man in America, we had to have that talk young. Right? And I had parents that never had that talk with me, although they would talk around it, because you can't act like it's not there at all. So they talked around it, kind of, sort of, with like, but whatever. But I'm sitting up there like, no, like thinking at a certain age, and before I could have that talk, my son already knew. Right? Cops look for little children. They look for black boys. Right? It is what it is. He even does this thing where I used to get frustrated and think like, well, how's he not paying attention to that? But I see he's scared. Like when the police officers show up, every time, because police officers have pulled me over multiple times, right? Once I deserved it, to be fair. Outside of that, police officers pulled me over multiple times, and it's always something weird, right? But that being said, every time they pull up, guess what my son does? He gets on his device. He starts playing the game. And at first I was like, why is he always playing the game? That's weird. Like, isn't he scared? But he does to escape reality. He doesn't even want to think about what's going to happen. And then later on, I got to ask him and be like, you all right? Got to go up to you, all right? And he just goes, yeah. If he wants to talk about it, we talk about it. If he doesn't, we talk about it during lessons or talk about it during a walk or something like that later on. But he knew at a young age. He knew, like, the police officers could take your life just because of the color of my skin, right? And a lot of persons, when they say, no, you overdoing it, there could be some where it's overblown, sure, but also, too, it's a way we have to be safe. We have to feel safe, right? So it's always interesting. We as men, this is why we need to protect and love each other. Sisters, I'm telling you, you've probably seen it and not realize the dynamic that's going on. Sisters, your man can be like, yeah, I'm a man, I'm protected, and then you start doing something that could slightly be illegal. Like you could be doing something simple like picking flowers from somewhere it says don't touch it, don't go on the grass, right? And guess what we start doing as men? You'll start seeing the man and this and that, and puff out your chest, and you'll start seeing us. Man, please, can we not do that? Can we please? You'll see us because we melt because we understand if the popos show up, I don't care how big, how strong, how much money he got, right? LeBron James got all that money and they sprayed the N-word right on his house. In the best of neighborhoods, with the best of security. Somebody found a way to put that N-word on his house. Right? Don't matter. LeBron James is he's the biggest, he's the strongest, he's the richest. And still a ninja. See, we need each other. And thank you, babe. I'm sorry, I saw you. Right, it's not overblown. I see you. Right? Yes, you always get the bracelets when you get pulled over. And they running like you. Oh, and you ain't North Carolina. Yeah, for sure. Sorry about that, babe. I don't even be thinking about that. If you need to ever talk about it or just say something to somebody about it, you call me up. We promise each other, we check on each other. I know I've been busy, but hold me accountable to that. If you need to talk that stuff too, because that stuff is real, man. I'm telling you, every time I'm not even joking. Every time I see a police officer, something in me, I freeze. Outside, you'll see me. I'm still trying to, walk and do whatever. I'm telling you, when I see him, something in me automatically. So when I see Solomon play, it took me a little bit, but I saw him and it finally hit me. Oh, he doesn't even want to be here. Like he's trying to escape, whatever he can do, he's gonna be on that game. Like there's times he's not, and he's on the game a lot. But there's times he's not on the game. Police show up, he gets on the game. He don't want nothing to do with it. If I'm walking somewhere, it's just him and I walking. He sees the police, comes on the other side, as he should. And it don't matter what color they are. He knows that too. Never had to talk to him about that. He understands they don't work for us. Right? And Brother Yachasav, right, he gets the bracelets he was talking about putting on him just because he gets pulled over. Because my man is 6'6". Was you 6'6", 6'7", something like that, right? I know you're taller than me. Right? I'll be trying to give him 6'10", but that's too much. You feel like he's like 7'7". But that's just his presence though. But he not, and you get to know him, man, he says there's a anger side to him. I ain't met that side. But he says there's an anger side. I just know him as a big teddy bear, man. That's my big brother. Right? He say great stuff. He'll come on in our men's text streams and stuff, and he'll put information out there. He put something out there the other day, had me cracking up, stuff like that. Right? Like he's a nice, very nice guy. But that don't matter. Because of who he represents. You see what I'm saying? You gotta know who Israel is. And by the way, brothers, if you haven't caught on so far, what we're talking about with the sisters, if you haven't caught on to how I'm trying to talk about this as far as how you need protection, remember, ultimately what we're talking about today is how Israel is a wife. And so how our wives need to be looked at as Israel, but also how they need to be protected. Brothers, the same way we feel around them police officers, that's how a lot of them feel just walking outside. Sisters, if I'm lying, tell me I'm lying. Right? I'm just being led by the Holy Spirit. I'm pretty sure I'm on it though, right? These sisters, when they saying they don't feel protected, they're telling us that the way we feel when police officers show up is the way that they feel all the time. It's the way that they feel when they go to their job and they're supposed to smile. It's the way that they feel when they live in a society that when they feel hurt and endangered and nobody's there for them, everybody's telling them, you need to smile more. That's how they feel. See, Israel, how we get treated is how our wives get treated. You see the correlation? If you want to love her the way that Christ loves her, then you got to realize that what Christ is willing to do to protect her is what you got to be willing to do to protect her. And thank y'all for the love. I've never seen that. Jump up before. Thank you. Well, yeah, depending on what type of police they are, they get around that. But I'm with you, DJ. I feel y'all know what you're doing. And how you doing, 92? Welcome back. Long time to talk to you. It feels like hopefully all is well. But y'all feel me? You hear what I'm saying? Are you with me? You with me? That's right. And they're expected not to feel. The same way that a brother's supposed to, look, this is the way it is. I'll go somewhere, get pulled over by the police, And guess what I'm supposed to do next? After they trying to sit, one police officer in Bmore, he pulled me over. This is years and years ago. This is probably like, time flies. This might be like 4 or 5 years ago, right? Or maybe even 6. I don't know. But he pulled me over, and then told me, because of the vehicle I had, that persons in that neighborhood normally basically can't afford vehicles like that, and people who look like me can't afford to be in vehicles like that, right? And so he literally told me. He said, so I'm pulling you over. He didn't be more, so they ain't got time to act like we cool. He just pulled me over. He told me. He talked to me about it while he was there. He was like, I'm probably going to arrest you. He didn't. But I had to call Elder Arma, had her on FaceTime, everything, making sure that everything was straight, that she saw what was going on. But he straight up told me. He's like, yeah, you know, we blah, blah, this and that. He was running the tags, this and that. He goes, oh, blah, blah, everything seemed to be all right. You know, you got everything's in order. And I was like, oh, is something wrong? I was like, I know the lights are out. He was the one that told me, because I got pulled over by somebody else for this, and I was able to tell them that they were wrong because of him. He goes, oh, I didn't pull you over for the light. He said, in Baltimore, you can have one light out in the front and one light out in the back. He said, we're not even sure about that. He said, he told me the truth. He was like, I pulled you over because of how you look, and that you really should, and the way that we're trained, you know, he was like, you're not supposed to be able to own what you own. He told me straight up. I actually appreciated it in a way that I was like, okay, there ain't even no false pretenses. He went through his stuff. He told me what he was going to do. And once it was there, I was like, okay, I guess he's going to let me go. I'm just going to have to wait for him to go do whatever. He went through whatever. He did what he said he was going to do. He found nothing was there. He was like, all right. He saw me a couple times after that, but he ain't do nothing to me because, hey, he checked me out. That's how they do it. They do it because of how I look. But I understand that it's part of the system. It's set up because of who we represent. Right? But that's how our sisters feel, brothers. And I'm sorry, my screen just went out. I didn't even notice I had a bad thing. So for those on Facebook, we might have lost you. We're pretty much finished. But I don't have a Willie Lynch thing up in front of me anymore. My apologies. I got so into this, I ain't make sure I switched over. Right? So I'm glad. Like, he ain't, in that case, you know, they usually gaslight you. In that case, he ain't gaslight me. He just told me, yeah, I pulled you over. You black. You in a neighborhood where we think that black people that got what you have, got to be running something, got to have something, we're going to check you out. So they did that to a few people across from my house before. Right? Persons will get stopped right across from me, and they'll be trying to check them out or whatever. And a lot of times it'll be people, there's like a neighborhood mechanic is right there, and they check them out, and they'll be like, oh, how you got a car like this, how you look like this, how you blah, blah. And so I'll literally come outside, I'll be standing there. I've met a couple persons, I don't even really talk to nobody in the neighborhood, but I've had a long conversation with persons that I'll be talking to them, a lot of police are doing what they're doing, just to make sure it's known, like, hey, I'm watching. You all right? You know, if something happened, you know, I'm here. You got a witness. What's your name? Blah, blah. This happened like 3 times, right across. And we're not even home that much, so had we been more, been a lot. Need to pray Psalm 94. Mm-hmm. You know, so these are things that, you know, a lot of persons don't catch. But hear what I'm saying. That's how Israel is supposed to feel. Remember, Psalm 123, verse 4. They're at ease with the scorn of Israel. Psalm 122, where do we need to be at? Within the gates of Israel. I was glad when they said unto me, let us come back into the family, the house of the Lord, right, of Yahweh. Inside the gates of Jerusalem is where our feet should be. We should be a compact nation. We should come together, right? These are things that are there. Oh, Psalm 133, that's the 14th step. Right, Psalm 133. Oh, how great it is when the brethren, when the family, when we come together in unity. It's like the oil that comes down, the anointing that comes down, even down into the skirts. How beautiful, how safe it feels. Right, David talks about the unity of Israel. What is that, Psalm 132, Psalm 131? Within those Song of Degrees, within those steps. You said, no, we ain't the same? Okay, well, then you can go somewhere where you the same to somebody. I don't care. I don't even know what that means, right? But okay, right? You from the South, so that means I have no family from the South, or I have no dealings in the South, and how little you know about me. But anyways, right? You can go ahead, I guess, and enjoy your day. But you hear what I'm saying? Right? We're dealing with all this stuff, we're dealing with all these things to where it's, you know, it is a lot of headache and frustration that's coming against each other for what? Because he said, he literally said, I reversed their nature. He said in their nature, they would protect their children And he said the children would look up to the husbands because the wife would teach the children to look up to their husbands. The same way that those who are born of Israel, Israel is supposed to teach them to look up to your husband. You see that? You got to learn about Israel and what she's still going through and who she is. If Israel was in her natural state, if the Negro was in their natural state, if we were in our natural state, then we would not be dependent on the. Remember, it said, Willie Lynch said, our goal is to get them to become dependent on the state, to get away from an independency and to take on a state of dependency that will cause them to make us wealthy. It said they will serve us for our business and they will serve us for our pleasure. Your marriage is designed to serve the enemy, to make sure that his business is well and to make sure that his pleasure is great. But Yah says we do things for his pleasure. Why? Because we're his wife. If he has great business, we have great business. If he has great pleasure, we have great pleasure. We're one. Happy life is true because happy house, happy spouse is true. If the husband is doing great, the wife is doing great. If the wife is doing great, the husband's doing great. If we're both doing great, the babies are doing great. Of course, there could be exceptions to the rule, but understand, I'm not talking about I love this saying. I'm gonna be saying this a lot more, at least for a little while. I'm not talking about anomaly, right? I focus on the history, not the anomaly. Look at the history of families. Usually, the history of it, not the anomaly, the history is most persons that are going to lead their people into righteousness are coming from mama and daddy. And if mama or daddy is gone for righteous reasons or just natural occurrences, somebody else steps in to fill the gap of the maternal or paternal side of things. It's just the way it is. It's not supposed to change. It's never changed. God's word doesn't change. That's how he created us. I know you want to do something different, but that's how he created it. It's 11:11, babe. Thank you. I see you. Right? That's how he created us to be. Right? It says in the Willie Lynch study that you reverse the nature. So how do you do this? How you do this? You take all the males and all the females who are enslaved, whether they come off the ship, whether you got them from the land indigenously, whether there's some mix and match of the two, whatever. Whether you stolen free persons and now you're making them slaves, and what do? You're supposed to go and look for the male, the ninja male, who is supposed to be the greatest of all of them. He's the one that's scowling, he's the one that won't bow down, he's the one who's the most vociferous and voracious and ferocious, and you make sure that you, in front of everybody, embarrass him more than anybody else. Before you kill him, you got to kill him. Because you can't have that person be around. Right? Remember, before even Israel could go into Canaan, you had to allow that generation 40 years to die off that was still trying to hang on to the things of kingdom. So if you were 20 years and younger, you could make it in. So basically 60 years and younger outside of Caleb's house and Joshua's house, right? Everybody else had to die off because you got to let some things die off, right? So they understand you can't have the strongest male stick around because his responsibility is to never bow. That's what makes it dangerous. You have to take out Martin the way that you do, right? Like think about it. Even with all those persons that got taken out outside of Fred Hampton. And Fred Hampton, they tried to take Fred Hampton out publicly, and then the Black Panthers shot back. That's why later on they snuck in and they told everybody a lie about, Fred Hampton, and they were just out here killing police officers. No, the police officers and FBI said they tried to take them out publicly. They couldn't do it. So Fred Hampton and then finally went back, and when they finally let their guard down, the persons who were insiders, right, who were working for the FBI and stuff, they helped the police officers to be able to sneak up in the building, and then they basically shot up everybody and shot Fred Hampton right next to his wife. or his fiance, his pregnant fiance at that, right? But that's, but that's, but that's why you do it publicly. That's why you're trying to do it publicly. That's why they tried to off Marcus Garvey publicly. They couldn't, so they had to do it privately, right? But they tried to, right? They tried to, or they succeeded with Martin. They succeeded with Medgar. They succeeded with Malcolm. You know, they tried to take out Fred Price. Fred Price was able to make it to an old age. Praise God. He was protected. Fred Price was out here telling y'all a lot of stuff we talking about. He was telling you this stuff 20, 30 years ago. Probably before that. Miles Monroe was starting to tell you, hey, Christianity ain't it. He's like, I'll talk to you and I'll still say Jesus and blah, blah. But he was like, I'm done with Christianity a while ago. They tried to take him out publicly again. Now, I don't know if they took him out on the plane or not. I don't have enough evidence. I just know that they tried to take him out publicly, but they couldn't. It's only a matter of time. They cannot allow this. They cannot allow this, right? So there's a reason why they do this publicly. So when you come off the ship, I'm gonna try to finish up as soon as I can. Right, we're almost done. When you come off the ship, or when you're coming on the land, or when you're being traded, or you're coming from somewhere else, what do? You have a group of persons. And the group of persons include men, women, and children. Just like Willie Lynch said when we were reading earlier, when he talking about your nature and natural state, you have men, women, and children. Pastor Stephen Darby, I don't know exactly what happened with him or whatever, right? Either. You know, there were some things, some unhealthy habits that he had, but that being said, he could have been taken out too. Once again, they tried to take him out publicly, it didn't work, right? Right? So that's another great name to bring up. I learned a lot from him, right, as well. They tried to take out the guy down in New Orleans. You know about who I'm talking about. I can't recall. The one that has, I think it's, I don't know if that's the name of their assembly, but they had their videos on YouTube that are called like the School of the Hebrews, the School for the Hebrews. Right? He has some really great stuff on there. He has some really great stuff on there now. Right? However, yeah. Omar Thibault. Thibault? I don't know how to say it. I was going to say it. I think he actually pronounces it French, but I don't know how to say it. but yeah. But yeah, there are a lot of persons out there that they try to take out. So when you sign up for this, there's a reason why they're trying to reverse your nature first. Well, the Lynch taught them, hey, don't try to kill them at first. Try to break, but you got to break the head. The ones that are the heads, the ones that are coming out, you got to kill. And if you can't kill them, you got to at least kill. Sometimes it's better to even kill the way that they act, or to kill their persona, or to say that they did something to put them in prison, or sometimes it's better to just make them look stupid. Right? Sometimes it's better to do that. Right? Dr. Sebi, gone. Dr. Lay in Africa, gone, right? But even before then, you break down their stuff, and people are like, Sebi was so stupid, people were so dead. And I'm like, hey, I don't agree with everything Sebi did, and Sebi obviously had lust issues and stuff like that, but let's not pretend that Dr. Sebi didn't go to the New York Supreme Court and literally prove that you could heal using herbs. Let's not pretend that he didn't break the system up. Like, how much damage he did. Let's not forget the person's like left eye were coming to him and was talking about him, and as soon as she started talking about him, all of a sudden she gets sick and died, but he had just helped her to heal from stuff. Like, look, you know what I'm saying? Let's not forget, that Michael Jackson and persons were going to Dr. Sebi. Then all of a sudden they went away from him. Next thing you know, he gets a new doctor and he gets killed. Now, I don't know if I'm putting all the pieces together for that. I'm just saying, stuff is very suspicious. If you just look around Sebi, you look around who Dr. Africa is talking. Start looking at what be happening to these people. We need to start praying for these persons rather than trying to do the same thing the system is. Like, I don't have to agree with everything Sebi said to not realize, man, like he was on to something. Right? As soon as he dies, they get all of it, they patent all his stuff. How'd they do that? As soon as he died, they got all the recipes, patented it, and they selling it to you for more money than what he was selling it to you for. And we just went with that. The dude who's NOI. I'm gonna tell the truth, whether they agree with us and what our doctrine says or not. The dude is NOI that wears the glasses. He was on YouTube. He kept getting kicked off of YouTube, kept getting kicked off of Twitter, kept getting kicked off of IG, and took time out to use what he had, put together a business, made the stuff that comes in the. I'm looking at supporting and trying to get those bottles because everybody keeps talking about it. All types of celebrities, everything. Could be just because they run in stuff or whatever, but I like to try it. It's supposed to help you with your brain fog and fatigue and all that stuff. And then, so I want to at least try one of them, see what he's talking about is real. But bought all that land. They got stuff to be able to heat their stuff. I forget the brother's name. He wears glasses. He's analyzed. He's got he kind of got a lengthy body, like his upper body, his torso a little long. You know, his arms are a little long. You know, but I'd say, you know, decent looking brother, handsome brother. I don't remember his name, right? But you know, but he basically has become vegan and has gone to a place where he's doing a lot of stuff or whatever. And they tried to off him, and then they tried to like sue him. They tried to put him in prison, and he won. And not only did he won, now he's about to get paid a bunch of money. Rissa Islam, thank you. Rissa Islam, Rizza, last name Islam, right? But yeah, but he did all that great stuff or whatever. And how you doing, big brother Thomas? Right, he does all that stuff. And a lot of our people were the ones to be like, oh yeah, you know, no, like the government came against him. Here it is that now he's finally coming back and he won, and then he's winning money on top of that. You know that's difficult to do publicly, to where you don't have to go ahead and keep that stuff done publicly. Came back, came on the platforms, is selling and stuff. People are getting healed. You got people having tumors go away, all this stuff. He's following the blueprint of Dr. African, Dr. Sebi. The same ones that a lot of us, we started saying, oh, yeah, they just trying to steal from our people, blah, blah. Dr. Sebi had a lot of issues. Dr. African had way less issues, if any. Right? I mean, he had a little bit of less issues going on. But that being said, at least he was faithful to his one wife. She was just extremely young. But, you know, still. And he might have had an attitude, but they were helping our people. Doing well, thank you for asking. Right? Anyways, let me finish up now. But you see, you reverse the role. So it said that basically you take the strongest men. Right? And I'm not trying to say women can't be strong. Hear me, sisters. I'm telling you, this is what Willie told us he was going to do. This is what they need to do. This is what they're still doing to us today. He said, how do you make a slave? He said, you take the strongest ninja male, the one that will not bow down, the one that says, this is what we're going to do, right? And you find him in a place where he's unprotected. Because one thing we forget about our men, and especially our leaders that are men, right? Our leaders that are women as well, right? We should be protecting Charlotte Ali. We should be protecting Sister Soldier. Like these sisters just get forgotten about, tossed to the side. And, right, we forget that Sister Rosa Parks had to be protected by somebody who's not even one of us or believed in what we were doing that much, because he saw that she was a big name and nobody was taking care of her. She was about to be homeless if she wasn't already homeless, something like that. And he made sure that he paid to give her an apartment for the rest of her life. We should have been doing that. That's our elder. That's the one that we look at and say, yeah, she fought for something. And by the way, she didn't just do the thing that's whitewashed. She was actually a Garveyite. She's a holdover from a time to where we were people walking around in uniform singing our own anthem. And she ended up in a place to where she was homeless, and somebody else who's not even of our community had to say, no, we're not going to let her go out like that. You see what I'm saying? Right? They have us that much against each other where we didn't even think to ourselves, not one brother, male versus female, somebody, but not one brother was like, what happened to Rosa? Persons that came up with her in the fight. Not one person, like persons that marched with her, persons that might have been on the bus with her, persons who worked with her, the NAACP, persons who were in the same neighborhood, persons who would invite her to events, but she would not have a home to go back to. They pay for a hotel for a day, but wouldn't make sure she was taken care of. Nobody would even invite her to her home. Like, not one person was like, you know, Mama Rosa might need some shelter. And she might not have ever asked for it, not because just she's proud, but she might not ever ask for it because she is a black woman that's supposed to fulfill that role of taking care of stuff. And then if she crumbles, she crumbles. That's what we do. She represents Israel, and the same stuff that we're going through Israel, our wives are supposed to represent Israel. If they represent Israel, they need protection, they need affection, they need love, they need nourishment, they need reminders. They've been raised in a community, in a society that is anti them. You better be ready to step up. And if you're not ready to step up, that's cool. There's no say anything about us who are stepping up. Don't call us simps, because we understand simply that our wives must be taken care of. We understand that our mothers should be taken care of. We understand that, yes, if she says she feels safer with a bear, yeah, something's a little crazy about that. But that being said, she's also saying she doesn't feel safe around men. And if she doesn't feel safe around us, is it all unwarranted? Is some of it? Sure. Is it all unwarranted? And even if you are the perfect specimen of a man, has every man she's been around been perfect? So are you going to use your perfection to help to wash her by water of the word? Or are you just going to say, it's another Negro woman? Yeah, it is another Negro woman, Israel. And Israel might be dry bones. She might have dry bones in her emotional status, but dry bones can live again. Command the dry bones. That's what the Most High said. Oh, I feel that in my Sunday. The Most High said, command the dry bones to get up and live. Command the dry places in her life. She won't listen, blah, blah. I'm talking about speak to the spirit. I've started saying it a lot more in my marriage. I've been saying it for years, but I've definitely been saying it a lot more recently. That's a spirit. That spirit got to go. That spirit got to, I'm speaking to the dry places. I'm speaking to the dead. Something ain't right in that. There's no way that we are too intelligent. We are too great as husband and wife. We got too many things going on. Something is going on. That's not your fault. It's not my fault. That's a spirit. I'm speaking to the dry places. You spend all this time putting that shea butter on. Put some shea butter on your dry places in your relationship. So anyways, you take the strongest male and you put him in front of everybody. And you put him in front of everybody, and then what do? As you put him in front of everybody, you basically do what? You then beat him. You beat him to where he's bleeding. You beat him bad. Then you tie him up. Then you tar and feather him, right? Then you make sure that you put him on two horses to where his legs are spread apart. You make sure that you strip him naked too, so that everybody sees his nakedness. You're showing everybody that he is not in any position to protect or to lead. But just in case somebody would look to another man and just say he's just a sacrifice, right? And you just to make sure you don't respect the sacrifice, because you understand no other man can do anything either. How you doing, Brother Kofi? Guess what he says? Guess what they say do after that? Take the man, the chieftain, the head man, that head ninja, that ninja male that won't bow down, that y'all are looking to his example. Take him and then get ready to put him on fire. When you put him on fire, the horses are going to split apart. They're going to run, and his body's going to be split. But while that's happening, make sure simultaneously you're beating all other men. Anybody who we would think of as a man. Anybody who's close to a man. Anybody who's strong enough to fight against a master, or an overseer, or a servant, or an indentured servant. Make sure that everybody sees, including the women and the children especially, but the men, all the men are going to be beat, but not beat to death, just to the point of death. We're actually gauging how much we beat the life out of you. We know how much we can beat you. We've studied how much we can beat you. We studied it on horses. We studied it on you, brother. We know how much we can get out of you before we don't need to worry about it anymore. We know that we can get you to 50, 55. Mm-hmm. Oh, I know you don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that because I'm coming up on it. I'm not that far from it. We know we get you to about 50, 55, and then what we need you for. We got young ones coming in. This is why when our young boys go to prison, pay attention to the prison sentences. And they be like, oh, well, should he get the death penalty or should he get a life sentence? Pay attention to the conversations they have right in front of your face. Go look it up and listen. You'll discover that they be talking about something. They'll say, oh yeah, he can go ahead and have, like they'll literally be saying, well, he can, it's okay if we don't need a death penalty on him because he can work. He's only 20. We think he's got about 30, 40 years in him. They're saying that we don't really care if he lives or dies, except he's good economics. Don't beat him to death. Don't give him the death penalty yet. Eventually he'll die. Eventually he'll get in a fight in prison. Eventually we'll have no need for him, and then we'll set him up in a fight for prison. Or we'll give him something that's way too much for him to do, and he'll die. Eventually that'll take place. But for right now, he's good economics. He's on the auction block. When they get ready to go into sports, doesn't matter if it's baseball, soccer, football, basketball, etc. They all go through the combine, right? Or the combine, excuse me. Combine something else. They go through the combine. And when they go through the combine, what happens? Strip yourself, get naked, We're going to work you out. We're going to see how tired you get. Can you do this? Can you do that? Blah, blah. You a slave. You're on the auction block. If you do well enough, okay, we'll pay you. And even though you have millions, we know you're going to lose all that money anyway. We'll make sure by law so that you can't sue us. We'll make sure we bring somebody in to teach you how to use your finances, so you can't say that we're the real. But we know you're going to lose all your money anyways, and you're going to be dependent on us, right? You're going to be a slave to us, and you're not going to know how to use money after you get out. So even when you lose all the money, if you have any extra when you get out, you're going to ultimately bow down to us, hoping to give you a job, give you some work, take your insurance, whatever. So you're going to be enslaved to us for the rest of your life, right? And we'll use you up until we have no use for you anymore. While the head person who won't bow down to the system is getting beat, you beat all the other men to the point of death. But don't kill them. Just beat them almost to death. You're going to rip one man apart and cause death. The other men you beat to the point of death. And now every woman and child who has been watching from that point on does not believe that they're protected by the husband or by the ninja male, right? The way that they don't believe they're protected by the horse male. So when the horse male has it happen in front of the females will eat out of the master's hand, and they'll raise the female horses to eat out of their hands, and the male horses to just be nothing more than something that's used to move heavy lifting to get work done for them, and then to have to breed, and that'll be their only reason for existence. And they have trained a whole group of us in Israel over centuries now to be to be males who do nothing but stay in the background, work for them, or do our own business, so we say, but basically work for the system. And then when we finish working for the system, what do? Then it's time to breed, and that's it. We're not worried about father, we're not worried about this. And sisters raise us to be protected like that. Brothers are not raised to make sure that they're going to be fathers, to make sure that they have responsibility. Women got to go to church. Men don't got to go. Little boys don't go to church. Little girls go to church. Little boys don't go to church. They got options. Little girls better be pristine, and they better not think about sex. Little boys be having babies out of wedlock, and everybody just go, oh, that's just Jimmy. that's just Caleb. That he just can't. That's Junebug. Junebug. He just got it in him. I don't know, but don't let little Susie do that. Little Susie get torn apart, even by other women who've gotten torn apart and know that it's not cool, because they're going to raise you in reverse role. Now the women are the ones that are supposed to be the protectors. The women are the ones, and they're supposed to eat out of the hand of the master. They're supposed to be what? Like he said earlier, be in a dependency state. If we realize who Israel is and why Israel is being mistreated, we know how to treat our wives. If we know who Israel is and why Israel is being told that they can't be the chosen of Yah, we'll know how to treat our husbands. That makes sense? Prayerfully it does. All right. I know I'm way over time. I'm on. All right. Thank y'all so much. Since I'm over time, we won't worry about shout out or anything real quick today. Plus, there seems to be no noise. Somebody about to start cranking that go-go over there. So I appreciate y'all. So for the rest of the day and tomorrow, just to give a heads up, for the rest of today, 8 p.m. New York time, live session this evening. We shall be on. 9 p.m. New York time, SOC community meeting. It'll just be brief. But still, please be on, everybody. SOC community meeting at 9 p.m. New York time. I'm going to try to run some things by everybody real quick. Especially if you're in the Northeast region, especially if you're thinking about possibly meeting up with us, prayerfully we'll be able to see you guys later on tonight. For the meeting. And important, I'm just going to run through some things, especially for things coming up at the end of the year, and especially if anybody's looking at possibly showing up to some live sessions here or there, or maybe even finding a place for baptism before we got to get ready to meet down with everybody for these last few holy days for our holiday seasons. And tomorrow, 8 a.m. New York time, we'll do a short live session. We'll go no longer than like 9:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. New York time. We'll talk about Yahweh, and therefore Yah, who he is and how the husband's supposed to represent Yah. Right, and we'll focus on the husbands in that regard tomorrow, and continuing the series. We'll be doing the series through Monday next week, so we still got a little ways to go. And but more importantly, after that, if you can come back on at noon for my wife, Bloom and Flourish, not A-N-D, but the letter N, Bloom and Flourish, and the number 3, Bloom and Flourish 3. Her and her mother will be on for their live session. They're going to be doing it every Tuesday and Thursday every week. So if you'd like to be able to catch what's going on there, feel free, and we're thankful for her return to TikTok and everything, and prayerfully you guys will be able to support. All right, but for tonight, Please come on. Live session 8 a.m. New York time. I'm not even sure what we're talking about. It'll probably be something marital centric. Or matter of fact, what we'll do tonight. I know I said we were going to do this before, but we had the great surprise of having Elder Alma on. It got moved tonight. If you have Q&A, if you have questions, comments, or concerns, I'll only have about 45 minutes. But I'll try my best to knock out as many questions as we can, as quickly as we can, and be able to do some teaching based off of that on marriage. All right, so we'll try to do that at 8 a.m. New York time, and then we'll see you guys for the Zoom. Sorry, 8 p.m. New York time tonight, and then 9 p.m. New York time for the Zoom meeting. All right, love y'all much. Appreciate you. Some person said they didn't get the email, so I'm gonna try and send it out again for the for you guys to see, to fill out the form if you're going to be participating for Feast of Tabernacles. We'll try to get that information out again and make sure everybody gets it. And if please, Sister Shirley can be on tonight. Those in DMV, especially those of you said you were going to help us to try and put some stuff together. Sister Donna and somebody said they were going to help out with, I think it was Sister Donna and Sister Shirley said they were going to help out too with us finally getting the stuff together for these businesses. So we're going to try and make way with that tonight a little bit, and maybe have another meeting with you guys for some separate stuff. And then somebody else, Sister Mignon, if you can be on tonight, we need to get some information. And by the way, please, it's going to be whatever happens in the meeting stays in the meeting. It's going to be a short meeting, but we will hit quite a few things real quick. So also too, be ready. We're going to ask for some of you to give your information out. It's going to be stuff that's not going to be big time stuff. Like it might be like, what's your born day, blah, blah. You know, ask for the addresses or anything. Obviously, we don't ever ask for anything financial information or anything. But we will ask for a couple things here. Maybe what state is everybody in as a reminder. You know, has anybody moved, stuff like that. And while we have certain persons on, also too for our ministerial staff, please, if you can be on, where our elders, we need to try and give assignments out so we can try and get some stuff done starting next week. I'm out. All right. Love y'all. Appreciate you. Thank you again. We give our honor and praise to the Most High. We give our praise and honor for my wife, the Honorable Alma, to the ministerial staff, moderators, SOC, Lottie Dad, everybody. Remember, it's always beloved that you are loved. You're necessary. You're majestic. You're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be other. Shalom. Take care, Brother Daddy Vash, Bruder Richard, Minister Keita. Somebody might have to call me and remind me of stuff, but you got your stuff pretty much. Minister Keita, I said to talk to you, or Sister Karen, when you get a chance to reach out to me. All right, much love to y'all. Thank you again for your time. Hopefully you learned a little something. We shall talk to you very soon. Peace.